Welcome, welcome. I see we got a few people filling in. We just giving y'all time to come in. The Queen is in the building. We just giving y'all time to come in before we start. Sharing the link and all that good stuff. So give us about a minute or two and we'll get started. If you have questions for the Queen, make sure you put them in the chat and I'll be sure to try to put them up there. I see you, my brother Jeremiah. I was looking for you the other night, man. I didn't know you had some Facebook issues, so I'm gonna have to get back with you and see what we can make happen. So yeah, I apologize for that. I didn't know you had the Facebook issues because I inboxed you, let you know we were still jumping on, and then somebody told me today that you had some Facebook issues. So yeah, we definitely still got to get together. See if we get a few more people in before we start. One of my most requested guests in the building. Let's see what we got. All right, look like we filling up a little more. Put out a few more links. MVP, I was actually gonna hit you up, man, and see if you could substitute for me to host this show. I wasn't feeling well, but it was a little too late in the game, and I didn't want to spring that on the Queen. So I was like, I'm gonna push through. So, but yeah, I definitely was gonna hit you up and see if you could sub for me. Well, I think we got enough people in, my sister. We can get this thing started.
All right.
All right.
Uncle Ma'at.
As you can see, the queen is back. So before we get into our spiel, let me do my usual thing. Welcome to Paradigm Shift TV 314. This is your brother, DMG the Poet, aka Pianki Patah Muntu Nefra Moon Ra. First of all, let me say Hotep to my Kemetic brothers and sisters. Let me say Shalom to my Israelite brothers and sisters. Let me say God bless to my Christian brothers and sisters. Islam to my Moorish brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum to my brothers and sisters in the NOI. Peace to my brothers and sisters in the nation of gods and earth, them 5%ers. Say what's up to my atheist brothers and sisters out there. And I want to say jumbo to the rest of my brothers and sisters throughout the African diaspora, be it here in the wilderness of the United States of America or beyond. And y'all know I say that greeting for one reason and one reason only. It's because if you black, I'm with you, and I hope that you're with me. Our different ideologies should not keep us from uniting, and we can have unity without uniformity, and we can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable. With that said, my queen, welcome back to the show.
Uncle Ma'at. Peace, greetings. I'm like, I have to take notes. Like, what was that last one again, real quick? Like, oh, how do you? I have remembered 2 seconds ago, and you got all this stuff committed to memory. That is very, like, just
Yeah.
never. It's very never.
The funniest thing is when I forget, and I be like, all right, forget it. So yeah, you'll see it one of these days.
Oh Lord. So I guess I'm going to start out and just say hello to everyone who is here, who is present, who bared the weight of the day. Looking forward to hanging out with us this evening for this conversation and just in general communing together. I think it's very important for us just in general. And I think that's one thing about your platform that's amazing is that it is positivity. Like there are a lot of people that are just like, oh, we just gonna argue and this, that, and the third. And one thing when it comes to nation building, like we all have to be able to listen to each other. I don't care if you don't agree with me, that's fine. But so long as we can respectfully just listen and hear where each other is coming from, what's most important is our upliftment for all of us. So it's all good. It's peace. So, excuse me.
Definitely. Definitely.
I'm just like, look, oh, you got your little scrolly thing. Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm trying to work on getting the the presentation a little more aesthetically pleasing.
I
So
like it. I like
you
it.
know,
So,
but matter of fact, put your cash app in the
oh,
private chat, and I'll put that up on the screen as well.
okay.
For those who want to support the queen, I'm gonna put our cash app up.
And
But
I
we're gonna
very much appreciate it. I think it's very interesting that, or at least the transformation of just the conscious community, as far as we are a little more willing to be financially supportive of each other. And, some other may not necessarily like knowledge should be free, but just the reciprocity, the ma'at of, coming and sharing the energy, sharing the time, because you're taking time out, out of your life. I'm taking time, we take the time to do the research, put the stuff together in the second and third. So if it's for not just the knowledge, but the time, the respect that we give each other, I just think that's very, like, I just can't get over how much we have changed, even just within the past 5 years, within the conscious community in that regard specifically. And I have to even say thank you for that, because my older brother, he oftentimes he's like, nah, it's got to be my eye. You got to at least put it out there so the people who wish to support you put it out there. And I'll be like, oh man, like I forget. Like, so I thank you for that, because I definitely forget.
Absolutely, absolutely. We gotta make sure we throw it out there. I mean, you may not get a hit, or you may get several. So, but we'll never know if we don't put it out there.
Very
So,
true. So,
yeah,
but
brother surprised me. He texted me. He was like, DMG or brother Pion. He put both in there. He was like, I just want you to know, man, I donated and let you know I appreciate everything you're doing, bringing the people together and XYZ. And I didn't even get a notification from Cash App. I looked in there, the brother had sent me $100. I was
Woo!
like, bro, I appreciate it, bro. I'm sending you a free T-shirt. so yeah, you never know who who you might inspire to help you out, and who your information may help or whatever the case may be. So.
Well, I'm very hopeful that it is helpful, or at least just kind of just spurs a little more thought. I did see one of the comments earlier, and I'm like, low key, like, oh damn, straight to the heart, so fast. Like we haven't even been here that long, and it was it was like something like Kemetic, something is kind of pseudo sounding. I don't know where it is. It was up in the chat somewhere, and I was like, dang, I didn't even get a like good evening, hi, hello, like ouch. And I'm sure that it was, it's all just
so now that I see who it is, it's my boy outside the cube. You ain't even got to worry about him. I kid you not. If he one of the people we let in for questions, he gonna be asking for your number. So ignore him. I guess you didn't have any tea, so but I peeped game.
I had no tea whatsoever. I no tea.
Yeah, Cube a character. So, but yeah, that's my man.
Okay.
Everything pseudo the Cube, except for what he followed.
Okay. Well, hopefully, with the conversation, actually, I think I would be interested to hear the reasoning, but not at this juncture, not yet.
Gotcha.
Get there. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and just get started and jump in to the presentation. So this is the first time, just in general, for those who've seen previous things or previous times that I've come on, that I usually just have a big notebook full of notes and I just be talking and talking. So this time I'm like, no, we're talking about the actual wisdom text. So I should have some writing, like what kind of sesh, what kind of person who fancies themselves on trying to do the best they can. And I'm not going to have any physical anything to show. So I'm like, hold on. Let me see. Really.
Make sure I got the right one up there.
Let me see. I'm like,
see, Cube already trying to get on your good side.
No, that's it. I'm like, maybe I spelled my own name wrong. Not for nothing.
He said no results found.
No, it's there because you can't even see. But that's it.
Yeah, find the Cube.
I'm like, that's definitely it.
You ain't getting the number. You're not getting the number, Cube. I know what you're doing. All
right, in that case, if that's the case, let me put my Cash App away. I'ma just be quiet.
I'm just messing with him, but yeah, I'm ready when you are. Let me know when you're ready for me to share your screen.
Okay. Yeah, you can share it.
All right, and I'm gonna mute out. So, like I said, if I have any questions, I'll just chime in. But otherwise, I'm gonna let you rock.
I'm waiting. I look forward to it.
All right.
Okay. So, hi, hello everyone. Ankh EnMaat, Hetep. So tonight we're going to be talking about how to apply ancient Kemetic wisdom to modern living. So I am a very visual person. I am a visual learner. So again, I tried to have some visuals for today. So for those who never seen me before, don't know me or anything like that, my name is Menyet for short, but my full name is Menyet Ankh EnMaat Menta. I fancy myself a Kemetic blogger. I am a professional educator by trade. I do teach in high school, much to some of my students' sadness. But so that's what I do in general by day. the whole purpose of my blog, my platform, is to just kind of show what it looks like to be a Kemetic practitioner as an everyday person. Oftentimes we see Kemetic people, but they're always like, I'm a priest and like I levitate and I do yoga for 15 hours and all this stuff. I'm like, I go to work, I get mad, I get road rage sometimes, and I'm still a Kemetic person. So I just really wanted to show what it looks like and just kind of also chronicle, because again, the ancient Kemetic were all about uh documentation, writing it down, leaving wisdom for the next generation, the Hemamentu. So that's essentially what my platform is about. So I have blog, I have the Instagram, I do study sessions every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we read different texts and just try to talk, converse together. So those videos end up going on YouTube. I have a couple of other videos over on YouTube. And then we have a private group over on Facebook, which is called Kemetic Living in the 21st Century. So that's a little bit just about me and who I am, and I guess why I am. So for this evening, I wanted to break it up into 3 sections. So first is understanding the problem. Now, as I get into that, the problem is much more extensive. I know there is a lot of nuance and so on and so forth, but I just decided to pick what I view to be the main 3 as to what the problem is. Then 2, why Kemet? Like, there are plenty of ancient societies. There's plenty of other systems vying for attention and, so on and so forth. So why Kemet? And then just measurement, vision, and goals. I wanted to end with that simply because one thing that I noticed within the conscious community, a lot of times we'd be like, we need to nation build. We need to do that. And then, but what are we doing though? So I wanted to just kind of put forth and put out there. I mean, I have like, I'm ridiculous when it comes to ideas. I have 50 million ideas all the time. But these are just a selection of them. And something else I was going to say in there, but that's all right. We'll get there. And if I don't remember it, I'll just have to come back another time.
Let me ask you a question, Queen, because
Yes,
one thing that kind of I always find a little bit amusing and a little bit annoying at the same time is the idea of who belongs to the conscious community and who doesn't. And so, because I get those who are in opposition of the quote unquote conscious community who lump the Nation of Islam, Israelites into this community, when those who belong in the community wouldn't agree with that. And neither would those 2 entities agree with it. 5 percenters as well. And so in your opinion, who makes up the conscious community along with those who are in the Kemetic community? Because I would say the Kemetic community is one facet, but not the entire community. It's just one facet of the community. If you could, who do you feel makes up the conscious community?
So when I think of the conscious community, superficially, my friend and I have this ongoing joke. It's like, somebody conscious when, and then we just like add on something else. It's like they own at least 3 pieces of ethnic clothing. They buy incense. They light candles, like they smell like patchouli and stuff like that. So it's like an ongoing joke where there is truth in jest. But in general, when I think of the conscious community, I think of a group of people who their motivation is to kind of correct historical ills, to illuminate and educate, where previously we were denied certain pieces of information, education, so on and so forth, for the purpose of pushing us forward, whatever that may be, because some people emphasize economics, some people emphasize spirituality, some people, everybody emphasizes a different area. And I think they're, and I'll kind of get to that in a moment, well, not a moment, but in a couple of moments, that all of those areas are necessary in general. So my thought, just to simply put it, is that any person who is of color, I'll put it like that, specifically Black, but I do recognize that, that looks like a lot of different things. And I live here in New Jersey. There are other people, around the country that, they would probably identify a little more than, as they say, all skin folk and kinfolk. So I try not to be that mutually exclusive, that you have to look a certain way, you have to have a certain set of beliefs, you have to this, that, and the third. It's just, are we all going in this direction? So that's what I call the conscious community. We are trying to nation build. We are going in that direction, whatever it is we're trying to do. Now, granted, because it is so vast, that is where a lot of conflict comes. But for now, I have to accept that this is where we are. And that is simply because of history. Like, unfortunately, once the leadership of the civil rights movement, once they were killed off and jailed and, so on and so forth, then we were, put on drugs, and then we had the gangs and center. So we have yet to actually recover to have formalized leadership that will go in a certain direction. And I think that that's actually a beautiful thing for us specifically, simply because I very much believe in the spook that sat by the door. We can get all this little information, just as a corporation has no specific head, but it somehow can maneuver. So I believe, should the conscious community, we should not, don't get me wrong, I think leaders are very important because they bring us together. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have leaders at all, but at this juncture, since we don't have any, that looking to business as a model for us would be advantageous for, again, establishing nationhood, where we don't necessarily have to have a figurehead that if they get shot, it's over. So as far as the Kemetic community, you had to get on me a couple of times on this one, because some stuff that I be seeing just grinds my gears. And
I already know.
Yeah.
I already know.
Oh my gosh, it just it gets to me. Because oftentimes, like, I'm not gonna lie, it even happened in class today with one of my students was repeating some nonsense that, clearly comes from social media. And I'm like, okay, chill out. They're of like 16, 17 years old. And this child was like, y'all just mad because you ain't as woke as me. I was like, if you don't shut up, please stop talking. Oh my God. Because he was saying the most ignorant stuff. And I was like, okay, this is why you here. This is why you're allowed to talk in class. So this way you don't go out in public talking about this nonsense right here. But it was an interesting time. But anyways, to get back on task, when it comes to the Kemetic community, my general thought is that any person who studies the Kemetic legacy and tries to take that knowledge and put it forth again for the purpose of nation building, that to me is a Kemetic person. Now, specifically, because of the way I look at Kemet was a multifaceted place that had many different factors going on. You had the scribes. So, in the Kemetic community now, we got the scholars. Like, you're one of the scholars. You bring everybody together. You having conversation, talking about literature, so on and so forth. So we got that. We have the education. We have the politicians, we have the spiritualists or the religious people. I know people hate the word religion. I think, I mean, to me, I get it, but
it is what it is.
Yeah, it's just very interesting that so many people be like, oh, ancient Kemet, they didn't have religion. It's like, bro, have you read a book before? Like,
Right.
what? Like, what do you mean there's no such thing as religion? Like, they had whole papyri about this. Like, what? Like, what you're saying is just, but again, I'm going to get to that. And when we talk about understanding the problem, that's part
Right.
of what I'm
And
about to
that
get into.
exactly. And I don't even want to spoil it because I was just about to get into why religion is so polarizing. But I'm gonna let you rock.
I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there, and I'm sure if I don't, you will bring my attention, and then we will get there. So it'll get there eventually. So, but just overall, it takes all different kinds, and my general philosophy is the idea because I know a lot of people, especially if you're on some of these groups, they'll be on there like, oh, your ancestors ain't even from Kemet, like your ancestors is from West Africa and blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, I get that because
How could you skip over West Africa? That's what I get all the time.
yeah, no, it's I don't understand it. I think it's just illogical, but again, I'll get to that when we understand the problem. Where like one, we understand that the ancient Kemetic after being conquered moved into West Africa. So okay, we already have that connection, but at the end of the day, we have um data. We have actual data that says this is where we come from. Now, if a person chooses to not believe that, that's your prerogative, it's your life. How okay. Um, but it's the idea that we can understand our blood lineage and still look to Kemet as an example because look how long they lasted. Even after foreign invaders, even after revolutions, even after all of those things within their history, they lasted for so long. So why wouldn't we as a group of people, specifically Black African people in general, and I use that when we like either ethnically, bloodline, how nationally, however people, all of them, not just one, not just two, all of that. Um, when we look at that and say, hey, we have been screwed over. Look at history. We had the Ma'afa, we had colonization, we had all of this stuff. Why wouldn't we go back and look at the classics? Because that's what every other group of people does. And I hate
Every other group.
comparing. I hate comparing. Like you're not gonna see no Chinese person like, oh damn, I don't know what to do. These Europeans just came here and that's it. Like, nah, they always Sankofa. They always go back. And it's like, yeah, we can go back to our bloodline and look for great inspiration. But again, if Kemet lasted for those thousands and thousands and thousands of years, they must have did something right. And why are we not trying to do that?
For example, my brother, very, very sharp brother, an actual scholar, says in the chat, look past your own actual people group and tribe and look to the other side of the continent. Now, have you ever heard a European say, I don't want to look at Rome or Greece as an example because that's not where I come from, or those are not my people? Regardless of how great the civilization was, I don't want to look at them as a example of culture or as an example of civilization. Have you ever heard a European say that?
I've never
We the only people I ever heard say that.
And I think what's interesting also is like modern Egyptians too will like hop on that behind and they be like, you ain't even from here. And it's I get why they're saying it because let's like I'm not gonna not be in my eye. There are some people out here appropriating. There's some people out here being disrespectful and calling names and all this, that, and the third. That's just not necessary. However, the way they become and be crazy, they already becoming crazy too. But just in general, the idea that well, we weren't dark skinned, so therefore, or we don't share the same phenotypes. So, and it's just like, but there's more. what is the word I'm looking for? Not genealogy. There's more I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but there's more DNA difference on the continent of Africa than the rest of the whole world. So for us to be so stuck on phenotype is such an American Western construction that I'm just like, oh my God, can we please? Because again, it's interesting that we can dissect and say, oh, well, race, didn't really exist until the Europeans came, and it wasn't this and it wasn't that. But then now when we go back and look, now we want to subscribe to the racist stuff that we was taught. So it's like, but you can't have it both ways. Like, you can't sit here and say, oh, well, race is a social construction and race was created to divide us and race was this and race was that, and then fight with people on the continent about phenotype, about the mummies looked like this, the mummies look like that. Like, bro, you're getting lost in the sauce. You're getting way too lost in the damn sauce. Like, just we Africans come in all kinds. Like, science tells us this. Why are you stuck on this right now? Like, anyway, that's my 15 cents. And I'm like, I wanted to read the comments at the bottom, and then I couldn't, because I'm like, oh man, if I start reading, I'm gonna be off somewhere.
Right,
totally.
no, I'm just throwing them up there for my sake. You go ahead and teach your lesson.
I'm like, dang, I ain't even fully get started. But that's my answer, my long behind answer to your question. That's what I believe makes the conscious community, and the difference between the conscious community, because some people in the conscious community are more or less concerned with just the African American experience and pretty much post-slavery and this, that, and the third. They can appreciate ancient history, but they're not necessarily using it as a focus and guide per se. That's somewhat changing in some areas, but generally speaking, like, they appreciate it, but they ain't going to do much more with it. Whereas again, ancient people who are in the Kemetic community, they're more about, okay, let's look at what the ancestors did. We may not have to do it 100% like they did, whatever it is, whether it be religion, spirit, or spirituality, whether it be economics, whether it be whatever it is. So that's the question. All right, so let me get all right, so understanding the problem. So again, as I said, I broke it into 3 sections: education, economics, and mental health, because just looking at online and just listening, like I said, I listen to teenagers all day long. So, as they say, the truth comes out of the mouth of babes. So I hear it, I see it all the time. And so starting off with education, like, again, what's up with this? So education, the wickedness of to the soul is ignorance. The virtue of the soul is knowledge. And that comes, and I'm like, I'm gonna try my best not to like quote and read pretty much a whole book to y'all. So this is the book I'm reading from. My bad, because I have some of my books be getting jacked up, so I'm sorry. But
you've actually been reading the book.
No, this one is like, is bad, but I have like 3 versions of this. So the page number that you see up there, or anytime you see Egyptian proverbs, I put in Kemetic, because Muada Ashby put in Egyptian, but we gonna forgive our elder for that. But the different versions of this book do have different page numbers. So just in general, if that was something that people were like, oh my gosh, I can't find the page number, that's why. So this specific one I wanted to open with education is just the idea of how much ignorance is going around in our community. And a lot of times when we hear the word ignorant, we hear it and we think automatically like purposefully mean, or just not necessarily the actual definition. So ignorance being, people really don't know, and what they don't know, they fill in the gaps by making it up, or they hear something that sounds familiar, so they go with that, or they go with their feelings, and we all know feelings are stupid. They are most of the time stupid, and they get you in trouble. And that's not what you should be rocking with.
Now, what was that cadence you put on feelings real quick? I just see,
I can't do it on command now.
Right. I figured, but yeah, that was I might have to make a clip out of that. Go ahead.
Don't do that. Feelings. But and even the ancient Kemetic said, oh gosh, see, look, this is what happens when I try to remember stuff off the top of my head. Feelings are poor masters, but or something like that. I'll find it in a second. See, I'm gonna say it wrong, and now I'm gonna go crazy because it's gonna bother me. But I'm like, you know what? I bet you. I'm like, I know somebody in the chat will probably know which one I'm talking about. But emotions are poor masters, but goods. I can't remember how it goes, but yeah, that one. I prefer to go with my feelings. Lol. Okay. I'm gonna come back to the presentation before I get too off task here. So one, when we talk about education, this is very important for us to understand. Like, we know things are bad, but sometimes we don't understand, like, in the greater context of things, when it comes to us trying to address our problems, sometimes we just end up giving it lip service because we don't fully understand how bad it is. Or like when people go through stuff, they're like, oh, it's not that bad. I made it through. Like, that's not okay. That's not making it better. Like, no, we need to have full HD 4K. Like, we need all of that. We need to understand all of that. Otherwise, when we talk about nation building, it's not going to be a strong foundation. We got to be very, very okay with looking in the mirror, seeing what we see. It's okay to get mad. It's okay to have the feelings, but it's what we're going to do with them. Like, feelings are there to show us something's wrong. That's the alarm clock. That's the fire alarm or something like that. But if you always listening to it, you're going to drown it out eventually. So we need to listen to them, but not always. So in 2018, nearly 1/3 of Black students lived in poverty, compared with 10% of white students. So when I get to like mental health and stuff, I kind of want to talk about that a little more, but that's a big deal. So, kids coming to school and not having food, kids coming to school not being hungry. And being hungry, not being hungry, not being able to concentrate, living in poverty. You have all these other socioeconomic things going on that is preventing one from being totally open to what it is they're supposed to be absorbing. Let's not even get on to, not having proper nutrition and proper brain development and all that other, stuff that goes along with that. Because we're not having the right nutrients, because we can't afford proper foods, blah, 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 blah. So the percentage of Black students who lived in households where the highest level of education attained by either a parent was a bachelor's or a higher degree was 27%. Like, a lot of times people say, oh, no, we out here, we're making progress. Like, yeah, we made progress for 27%. That's still low. And this is not to say that education is only getting a degree or a diploma. That is not what I'm trying to say. It's just an illustration along that. And it'll make sense in a little more in a moment. So 64% have parents whose education level is less than high school. So if a parent is not emphasizing necessarily education, they can't support their child educationally, they don't know what's going on, they don't have a good relationship with education and school themselves, it just kind of continues to repeat itself. So more than half of Black folks in this country having children have less than a high school diploma. And not even that, like, I'm like, wait, is it next one? Oh, haha. I'm going to wait to say what I was about to say after the next one. So in fall of 2017, of the 50.7 million students enrolled in public elementary and secondary schools, 7.7 million were Black. 45% of Black students attended high poverty school. That is almost the majority of Black children in this country are going to schools that are of high poverty, urban, or any of that. Nahem Mentu, emotions, feelings are great servants, but poor masters. That was the one I was looking for. I couldn't get it, but dua. So this idea of that is very big, especially when we compare it to counterparts of 8% of white students, 45 versus 8. That is a huge disparity. 7% of students attended low poverty schools. So um, out of all Black students in all of the United States, only 7% of them were going to school in the suburbs or upper, where we understand that that's more quality, more, I hate the word rigor, like with a passion. I really hate using the word rigor when it comes to education, but it's an educational buzzword, so I'm gonna use it. Um, but again, it's the idea of what is the standard. Now, again, this isn't to say, because we also understand the education system has failed and blah, 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 blah. Like it has all that other stuff going on. But the idea of this is, and why I wanted to put all this out there is, if we don't have a good relationship with education as it's supposed to be, meaning most of what people get is schooling. We go to a school building. We are told to think this. We are told to write this for the test, to pass the test, so we could get a diploma, so we could go get a job. That's schooling. Education is supposed to be, again, expanding our brain space, being analytical. Like, it is ridiculous that in 2022, how low critical thinking and analytical skills are. And it's very interesting, even more so when you see on the internet people arguing with each other. And it's just like, oh my goodness. Like, you definitely thought you were onto something. You watched a YouTube video real quick, and like now you up in your ego because of ignorance. Like, oh, that it's so painful. And it's not in an egotistical way. It's, my goodness, look at where our people really are. Like they really, oh my gosh, it's bad. So in general, yeah, that was that. So in 2018-19, 16% of Black students were served under the Individual with Disabilities Act, compared to 14% of white students in general. So we already understand that Black students are disproportionately part of what we call special education in general. Excuse me. So how can I put this? What special education is supposed to be versus what it actually is. And again, if you're looking at urban or rural areas, there's a lot of stigma that goes along with that. There, depending on the teacher, the quality of the teacher, the training of the teacher, because again, we understand rural schools and urban schools both have higher numbers of new teachers and higher turnover. So a lot of the poor relationship with education as seen through the school system is because there aren't teachers who are consistently there. There are not well-versed educators in these places. And again, some of that is not their own fault because of all the different pressures. Some of that is the pay, because in some states, like I was looking down in Atlanta, and I know for, other people, this number might be pretty good. But just in comparison, it was just like, oh my gosh, how do people even live? But they were talking about how they were boasting, in fact, about, oh, the Atlanta school system, we start people off at $50,000. And I'm like, oh, wow, people are not going to work there. Because again, after taxes and so on and so forth, and then how expensive Atlanta is now starting to become, that the math ain't mathing. It's not working. Like, that's not going to work. So anyways, to get back on point, is the idea that when it comes to special education, if the teachers aren't well trained, if they are not, or they're brand new, they're still figuring it out, they're new to the field, so this 16% coupled along with the 45%, like, now our numbers are getting higher and higher as to explain why our relationship and disdain for now I want to say classic, for traditional education is like all the way in the basement. So let me just go with that one. So just to, again, bring this home, So the gray are, again, the counterpart of the white students versus the black students. So when it comes to grade 8 in geography, history, civics, science, mathematics, reading, technology, and engineering, we are not even halfway. We are more than, like, it's just looking at the numbers in general, like we are so far behind, and this is 8th grade. So if they're behind in 8th grade, and actually the thought is, if with reading with children, reading to them consistently every day, by the time they get into 3rd grade, literally has, will put them on the trajectory for a certain amount of education, however, one would want or desire that. So because it expands their vocabulary. They get used to studying, they get used to the critical thinking of the story, reflecting on it, having reading comprehension skills, being able to understand, and so on and so forth. Being able to spatially understand the world around them with geography, being able to be critical of, this is what happened in the past, this is what I can, potentially do in the future. These are great people, blah, 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 blah. Civics, being engaged in politics, understanding, having a desire to understand politics. Most time you say politics, people be like, oh, it's corrupt, I hate it, ew. And then totally tune it out. They don't even want to be involved. And it's like, I mean, okay, I get it if you don't want to do the national thing, but what about your local? Like, you don't get involved with your local school board, the people who are making the money decisions about your children's education. You don't get involved with approving the superintendent. You don't do research on your superintendent and the type of policies they're going to put your child through. You don't, when it comes to, like, if we want to talk about police violence, did you vote for the sheriff? Did you vote for the mayor? Did you vote for the controller? Did you vote for any of these people where, like, people, oh, my vote doesn't matter. Yes, it does. When it comes to local stuff, yes, the hell it does. Because that directly involves your life. But we don't even do it. But how can we do it if we don't even understand civics? If we don't understand how this is set up, we just think, oh, this is set up against me and that's it. And it's like, yeah, that's true. But, the spook by the door said, if we just maneuver this way, we don't got to get caught up. Like, and I understand once we learn the rules, then they switch the rules. But again, if we have the competence, the education, we can foresee, we can be Haru with it, with the foresight, and see, oh, or we could do our own thing and go that way. But again, it's like, we're not moving that way. When it comes to science, understanding the world around us, understanding, like, I ain't even gonna touch COVID, but all I'm gonna say is COVID, and that's it. Moving on, mathematics. So I ain't touching that one at all. Oh gosh. So where am I? Reading. Again, having a lower command of vocabulary. I told this story and I'm like, I'm going to be like low key embarrassed, but I'm going to say it anyway because it proves the freaking point. If, so back when I was in 6th grade, I had moved, my parents had gotten divorced, and
you better not be embarrassed about nothing that happened in the 6th grade.
Oh no, this is pretty, what the hell? It's a what the hell moment. It's definitely a what the hell moment.
Go ahead.
So I had made new friends because my parents, they were separating, they were getting ready for divorce. And so I had, these so-called new friends said, oh, like, because my birth name, it starts with the letter F. And so they started calling me feces. These people called me feces for a month. And I, dummy 6th grader, had no idea what that word meant. And I allowed it. And when I figured it out, I was pissed. I was so pissed because, one, I thought they were my friends. So it never occurred to me that they might be calling me something otherwise. But once I caught on, I mean, clearly they wasn't my friends after that. I totally stopped talking to them. But it's the idea, like, that showed me in life, like, I need to understand what words mean. And as Kemetic, as people who practice the Kemetic legacy, we understand Hekau, the power of words. So what was she trying to tell me about myself by calling me feces? You know, we say the same thing, like you got to put words of power into yourself. You can't talk to yourself a certain way. You can't talk to your children a certain way. You can't talk to your spouse a certain way, so on and so forth. So, you know, again, but if we don't have the words and we listen to, you know, the certain music and all they's doing is cussing. And I know I'm speaking in AAE. That, you know, that just, it just is what it is. But you know, my code switch game, I could do that. I could definitely do that when it's necessary. But if children grow up into teenagers, who grow up into young adults, who grow up into adults, who then therefore have children, never have the command of the language, how can you fully understand the words that are being said to you, the words that you are saying, the world that you are creating? Understand the world that's around you in general as other people describe it if you don't understand the very vocabulary.
Real talk. Nothing to make you want figure out that you got to learn what words mean, like being called shit. So,
I told you it was embarrassing, but there was
but continue. But you was in the 6th grade, so I ain't mad at you.
I'm still mad at it. Like, I'm gonna have to do some EFT. Like, even though I let these people call me shit, I still love myself.
Right. Hey, and you know, just tell me who they is on Facebook. I'll start trolling.
Oh no. It's over and done with. And then finally, technology and engineering skills, which I was actually impressed that our numbers were so high, but even still, it's not even half. Yeah, no, I definitely am doing AAVE. So again, technology, like what's that man's name? Mark Zuckerberg. He's all about metaverse and this and that. And it's interesting because I'm part of a group where, you know, we talk about that kind of thing, but it's so interesting how Black people and, you know, people of color, well, I'm going to say Hispanic. I'm not even going to fully go in other realms because they be on it. But how scared Black people are of technology, of new technology in general. Like that, I have a student who graduated last year, and I don't even remember what the hell it is she said she wanted to do. I didn't understand it, but if she wanted to do it, if she liked it, I loved it. So I'm telling her, because she was the salutatorian, she was the number 2 in the class, and she wanted to do some type of biochemical research, something or other like that. And I was like, yes, girl, go ahead. And her own family said, no, you should go be a nurse. And it's like, you know, because it's safe, because it's predictable, because it's reliable, you know. And how many people do that to their children simply because they don't understand? How many people say, get off that game? But you could be a millionaire doing Twitch now. Twitch makes more money, if I'm not mistaken, than Instagram, I think Facebook too. Like they make, like, I forget how many millions a day just from kids getting on there, streaming, playing games.
Thanks.
Playing games. And we're telling our kids not to do that. Like we're not encouraging, oh, get off that phone, go do the dishes. Like, no, they need to be on. Now, granted, they don't need to be scrolling their whole life away. But in general, like, you know, we need to learn how to guide them. But if we're afraid of it them ourselves, how, you know what I mean? They're going to still be just doing the same old thing and being consumers instead of producers, instead of creators, instead of, you know, all of these things. Like if you look at TikTok, if you look at even Instagram and all these things, the algorithm consistently shuts out Black people. Why is it that we are not creating our own kind of a thing, you know? Like, but again, we can't create what we don't know in general. So it's very, very real for us. So nationwide, the overall dropout rate decreased from 9.7 to 5.3. The dropout rate for Black students decreased from 11 to 6. However, it was still higher than other groups. Additionally, 22% of Blacks Black students or Black young people 18 to 24 were neither enrolled in school nor working. So, meaning if they got out of high school, they're not going to welding school. They're not going to get a CDL. They're not getting a forklift license. They're not going to college. They're not going to university. They're not going to real estate school. I don't care if it's tech school, nothing, none of that. Our kids are not progressing in general. What are we doing? And again, if they're not progressing, what's up with the adults not pushing them or guiding them? So what's up with that? Nearly 8 out of 100 Black males dropped out of school. 6 out of 100 U.S.-born students dropped out of school, and 37 out of 100 institutionalized, aka if they're in correctional or healthcare facilities, dropped out. So again, if we understand racism in this country, and we understand the school to prison pipeline, and we understand that our kids are being pushed out, we understand that these policies are disproportionately getting them involved with the law, and we're allowing them to drop out of school, and we're not pushing them, even if they get a GED, we're not pushing them. They're just, oh, I'm gonna get a job over here, or oh this, or oh that. Like, in general, it's something else. It's something else. And as much as we want to blame and say this is what it is that's going on, which it is, what are we doing about it?
And sis, I can tell you, like, it's what you're saying. It's a punch in the gut, because my mother, when I was young, second or third grade, they told her I had a behavior disorder. I had a learning disability, things of this nature. And she just, not being a single mother, she just accepted what they said.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and my thing is, when I look back now, having, taken college courses and, learn to do, minimal research and study different topics, I'm like, learning disorder, not to be arrogant about it, but just thinking like, nah, they just didn't focus the way they should have on what it was I required as a student.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and my mother not knowing better, she just kind of like, okay, that's what it is. Go ahead and put him over there with these kids. And me and these kids, we all had chips on our shoulders, and we kind of went through school like that from that point on. And so I feel like if more parents kind of push back and try to get at the root of what the issue is, we'll have less of those situations. But because life and different systemic things, we do just kind of let it slip through the cracks.
And not for nothing, like I believe in, I don't know, you can't believe in something that is a thing. It's a thing. It's real. There is a need for special education. And again, when I get to the latter part, I think it'll come back full circle and it'll make sense. But when a lot of times we will say, how I can't think of no other way to say this. Sometimes we give white folks more credit than they really need, honestly, where there is this idea of, we are like, oh, you're aggressive, so you must have a disability, or you're emotionally disturbed, or they're quick to put that label on you, but that's not always necessarily the case. Maybe some kids really are emotionally disturbed, but we don't want it because, oh, well, they're just trying to do it to my kid. And I'm like, nah, your kid punched a hole in the wall like a couple of times this week, and like gotten a couple of fights, but sometimes we really are in denial because it's like, oh, well, me as a parent, what did I do? What's wrong with me? And it's like, bro, it ain't about you. It's about helping the child. And so many times have I seen situations like that where it's just like, no, this kid is having challenges that need to be addressed, because special education is supposed to be, now, again, I can't speak for all states, but I know federally, children are supposed to be in the least restrictive environment. So that has changed. And I think that's one thing that people don't recognize, is that since we have been in school, things have changed. It's not like when we was in school. So to go at it like that is not, that ain't it. So children are supposed to be in the least restrictive environment. So I have a couple of students that have autism. They're in my class because their specific diagnoses, they just need a little help here, a little adjustment here, a little adjustment here. Unless it's something that is so severe, but like parents can legally sue school districts if they just take them and put them in some special class in a closet somewhere. Like that is not legally okay, but do parents know that? No. Parents, like we also have what's it called, parent advocates. Now each state, you would have to look it up, like how to get to it, but you have people who are legally trained that you could get for free to go in there and argue on your behalf. But again, if people don't know that, they just kind of feel powerless and disempowered. But again, that also comes from not being educated, not having the wherewithal to, not wherewithal, because I don't want it to be like I'm blaming people. Ignorance is ignorance. If you truly don't know, you don't know, and you can't help that. But not saying, hey, let me look into this a little more, kind of a thing. And again, that causes problems, and where situations where children can get just thrown into something. So again, it happens, but there are things out there now that didn't exist back, like when we was in school, where we can do better by our children, but also not have to be in denial that something's up. And it's getting in the way of their education, whether it be an emotional thing, whether it be an intelligence thing, like a brain damage, whatever it is, we can handle it. But if we don't want to talk about it and we don't educate ourselves about it, what are we doing? So, all right. So this is about dropout rates. I want to, kind of keep pushing. So in general, the high school, where am I looking at? National adjusted cohort graduation rate. So essentially what that is, for people who don't know, it is students who enter 9th grade and graduate on time. That's what that means. So you graduate with the group you came in. You didn't get left back. You didn't have to do all that. You graduated on time. Black students are below the US average. We do not graduate on time. We get left back way more often. We have to go to summer school way more often. Now, some of this is the system's fault, absolutely. Not having enough teachers, having substitutes all year, having, not having enough materials, falling through the cracks, blah, blah, blah. All of those things are very, very real. But at the same time, when parents will say, oh, how did you end up in summer school? Oh, I didn't even know. You tell me you ain't asked for a report card? Not one time, not at all. You didn't know? Like, report cards ain't changed. That ain't changed since we've been in school. So it's just interesting, the dynamic of like, and then at the same time, are the teachers calling? Are the teachers making you aware? Are the, and if they're not, you have to say, hey, you got to be that squeaky wheel. But again, like, that. So kids aren't graduating on time. So if we went after high school, so we already said between 18 and 24, we have a big group of young people who are not doing any kind of educational training. When it comes again to that same group, college enrollment is between 31 and 37%. However, when it comes to young men, the rates were a little higher. So it's gone up. Okay. Yay. We're acquiring more debt going to college. Woohoo. Yay, debt. So, but in general, our numbers are still not proportionate. And again, if we're saying depending on the degree, now every job does not necessarily require a degree, but if you want to be a brain surgeon, you're going to need a degree. So just in general, what are we really pushing our youth to do? And what does that say about us, the adults, in general? And then even more, the idea of, even if our young people are going to college, they're not staying in college. or university, whether it be community college, whatever it is, the kids aren't seeing it through. And I get a lot of that is because they have to go to work. They have to, help take care of family. They got younger siblings. I have a young person who she wants to go to college, but she refuses to leave the state, even though she can get a scholarship, a full scholarship, because no one will be home to take care of her sister. Like these are the situations that we're putting our children through that is denying us mobility and nation building. Having, again, whether we're looking at it from the idea of education, having critical thinking skills, having analytical skills, having, English literacy, having foreign language literacy, having mathematical literacy, science literacy, etc. So, just in general, it's a constant. So at the end of the day, why does the education matter? And again, I know I concentrated a lot more on traditional education, but again, how are we to nation build if, as the ancient Kemetic already told us, the wickedness to the soul is ignorance, the virtue of the soul is knowledge. So are we actually gaining knowledge? And if it's not through formalized education, and we are educating ourselves because that's okay too, are we actually gaining knowledge, or are we showing off our ego because we feel less than? Because that'd be a lot of people. I know this little bit of information. Let me make a quick dollar off of it. I know this information. Let me hop on social media so people can do some mental masturbation over here and feel good and have a nice reaction. Oh, I feel good about myself. But that's what we're doing because we have so much ignorance, but nobody wants to talk about it. So there's that. That was only one. I'm gonna try to hurry myself up. So economics. So if thou be industrious to procure wealth, be generous in the disposal of it. One is never so happy as when giving happiness unto others. So I know a lot of people would read that and be like, oh, here we go. That's that turn the other cheek type of way of saying stuff. That is not where I'm trying to go with this. So if we are industrious and we basically, if we have it in us to go be entrepreneurs, if we have it in us to go get these high paying jobs and so on and so forth, be generous in the disposal of it. As what are we doing to build our community? Are we giving scholarships to young people? Are we building community centers? Are we white folks is gentrifying. Why can't we gentrify our own stuff? Why can't we buy our own? There's the buy the block movement. The people down in Louisiana, the people down in Atlanta, certain people got it going on. But again, what are we doing? So are we staying in our westernized, Americanized, capitalistic minds of it's mine, I worked for it, I could do what I want, da 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 da? That's not nation building. That's not nation building at all. And again, it's what are we doing for the Hemamentu? What are we doing for the next generation? What are we doing so that we can finally get out of this situation? And not to say that there will not be challenges. Satesh will always come, or Satesh would always come. He will always be the challenge, and to say, oh, word, this is the route you going. You really want this? There will be challenges, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, what will your legacy be? If it's not your family building that, if it's not, this, that, and what is it looking like? We want to get the money, but have no plan for the money. We have absolutely no plan. And again, other cultures and things like that, they plan for generations and we do not. So I see someone, Teti user Ma'atra Seneferu says the Black community don't have life insurance what the children going to do when you gone. So actually, and I found this very interesting because I forget, it was like a real disrespectful TikTok that I watched, but it brought about a point of just about that about life insurance. And actually, Black people have the highest number of getting life insurance policies out of all racial groups, at least in the United States. However, we are severely underinsured, and we let those insurance policies lapse. That is the problem.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
That is the problem. So we're handing the what do we call this? The hat around, because we got insurance, but we got $5,000. Like a cheap funeral is between $7,000 and $15,000. So yes,
it'd be enough for a funeral, and that's it.
And not even
if that.
You might just get the casket, because a casket alone.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And not for nothing, I remember I did that when my aunt passed away, and I went to the funeral home, and I mean, when it comes to money, I just be on a whole different level. And they went in there and they were like, "Oh, these are the caskets we have." And I said, "How much is this?" And they told me. I was like, there's a company in Maine that'll offer a similar casket for about $2,000 less.
Oh, you one of them?
Oh, hell yeah, I am. You ain't taking my money. It's going in the ground. Facts. I love my aunt, but she like. So, and I get it at a point of grieving, and this is like around the way. But as Kemet to you, like in ancient Kemet, all they did was prepare for that, our day of transition. All they did. So if a person's calling themselves a Kemet to you and they don't have full life insurance, taking into account taking care of their family and or inflation because gas is expensive these days. I don't know about y'all where you live, but it's expensive. Life is getting expensive. So if we're not,
we just got to guess. Did you get a link to someone?
Did I?
Saw.
Maybe.
All right, let me add. Let's see.
I'm like, ooh, I can't see the words are on the bottom.
Adjust your camera, bro.
Yeah, I can only see the eyes.
I could see him. Let me move this.
Okay. But,
can you see him now?
Okay. Yes. Uncle my aunt, brother.
Peace, bro. You muted.
Well, job to you both. I was just listening to the conversation. I wasn't actually looking to participate. I just wanted to hear the dialogue that you both had with each other.
Okay. I thought. Okay, my apologies. I thought the Queen had sent you the link for a reason, but
I'm still learning, so I might have did it inadvertently.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Okay, bro, I'm gonna let you listen. I'll put you back in the back. But if you had questions afterwards, stay back there, and then I'll just pull you back in for the questions.
Appreciate it, and thank you for the invite. Thank you both.
Absolutely.
So, when it comes to the economics in general, as a Kemet to you, we need to, do we know how much it is to buy a plot? Here in New Jersey, it's $4,000 at this one specific one where my family is. It's $4,000 to buy the plot, $2,000 just for them to open it up.
Wow.
That's not including the headstone, the certificates, the casket, the actual preparation, all all of that. It is so expensive. But if we're like in denial, like death is going to come for us whether we're ready or not. It's going to come for the babies. It's going to come for the old people. It's going to come for everybody in between when it feels like. Therefore, we need to prepare for that moment. Otherwise, our family is going to have to pass the hat, put us in a pauper's grave, cremate us when, and feel uncomfortable about, we're going to cause so much more issues for our families, whether it be economically, do you have a will? How many people don't have a will? And then when people pass away, everybody fighting, all the sisters and brothers fighting, messing up the whole family. Again, all of that is economics. And as Kemet to you, you gotta be responsible. But you know, I ain't even fully getting my final form. So in general, I'm trying to resist because I peeped the chat real quick. So
right. Yeah, resist the temptation. Resist the temptation.
So these are some statistics that I had used previously when we were talking about like economics and when we were talking about relationships and stuff. And so I just kind of wanted to go back to that for a moment to just illustrate again. Excuse me. When it comes to us, and mind you, these are older statistics. So like this is from 2017, this is from 2019. However, they were the more complete numbers that I could find. So I understand that they are not, 100% accurate. They're dated. So please forgive me for that because I couldn't find any, more updated ones. So per capita income is $22,175. That is gross. That's not even net. That's gross income. We are broke. We are poor. We are in poverty. Like if that's the average. So a male full-time earner out of 6 million so-and-so men, the median earning for men was 40,000. Again, gross, not net. And females, 35,963 gross, not net. So in general, if we are looking at these statistics and we understand one, we have a lot of single parent households, and that goes on both sides, whether it's a male single parent household or a female single led household. But the whole controversy on social media these days, like, oh, I don't want to give child support and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Like, again, what are we doing for our families? What are we doing for the nation? If these are the kinds of attitudes we're having, because we're not looking at the bigger picture, because what are we doing? Listen to our feelings. That's some feeling stuff over there. That ain't logic. That's not your highest and best self. And I would like to think that, as people who are aiming to be Kemetic to you, that's where we're trying to be. So I'm just gonna leave the statistics up there for a moment before I continue on. But again, this is why I said we really, really have to be willing to look at the mirror and understand it's way worse. Like our cognitive dissonance is real because we don't think it's this bad. It is this bad.
Well, it can't be that bad though, can it? Because we got Oprah, we got Jay-Z, we got Tyler Perry.
No, they ain't paying me. They ain't paying me. They hanging out again, because that's very interesting, because oftentimes, and I will say this to my students, just because they are Black people, they are of a different social status.
Right.
That's
and what people don't understand.
Yeah, and they are going to rock with the social norms of that social class. And I always show them that video from a couple of years ago when Blue Ivy was bidding, I think $40-something thousand on a piece of art. Okay, we don't live in that world. When everybody was mad about Nas and Khalees and how much she said she needed for child support, and they were like, "Oh, that's astronomical! Oh my God!" And I was like, "These are rich people problems. This ain't necessarily a Black people problem." And I get it because I don't know all the details. Maybe it was astronomical. Maybe she was being petty. All of that stuff is well within the realm of fine. I get that, but me, a wage earner, being able to tell someone who is wealthy, who has a financial planner and person who can take care of their money, how to spend their money. Like, we don't live on the same, we're not in the same. Like, I say he in the upper echelon, he sure the hell is when it comes to that money compared to the rest of us, especially according to these statistics. Like, just because we could go to the outlets and buy a cute belt and a bag, like that's not even rich people behavior. Like, even when we have the money, we do poor people behavior. We spend it on the stupid things. We spend it on like how social media or we don't spend it on that stuff. and we spend it all on our family. Oh, I gotta help my cousin. Oh, I gotta help mama. She's gonna lose the house. Oh, this one's gonna get kicked out. Oh, you know, when you're the responsible one, everybody come to you because, oh, you got it. Oh, I'll give it back to you. Oh, if you don't give it to me, that ain't real family. That ain't, you know, like then we start doing those kind of games. So I guess on the positive side, our economics have progressively gotten better since the 1990s. However, you did it too soon. However,
I'm hearing that Jersey accent a lot on this show.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I know, it's all good. It's all good.
So we went up in general. However, in 2020, the average median income. So the last statistics that we saw were 2017 and 2019. This is 2020. So the average income was $45,870. However, then we look at the white people and it's $70,000. It's still not our progress is still not enough. And unfortunately, people don't want to hear that. People don't want to look at that. People don't want to think about that because, you know, they're going to take it personal, or they're going to take it to anger and be mad and stay there. And again, the emotions are cool. It tells us something's wrong. But if we sit there in it and don't do nothing about it, shame on us. So, essentially, why does this matter? I hope I don't need to really explain why this matters. Like, I'm gonna just let Rihanna say it all. Let the billionaires say it all. So then finally, we got mental health. So as a rock on the shore, stand firm and let not the dashing of the waves disturb you. Raise your head like a tower on a hill, and the arrows of fortune drop at your feet. In the instant of danger, the courage of your heart will sustain you, and the steadiness of your mind beareth you through. So just in general, for those who don't know, this is what we call I'll say a heart capper or a heart scarab. So when we died back in the day, the brain was like, who cares about that? Throw it away. Your intelligence, your wisdom, your life was recorded in your heart. And this was, you know, the amulet that was to protect your heart. You know, if we want to go the whole religious, spiritual, you know, route, that was its function, because the idea is, and when we get into the 42, it was supposed to protect. So, you know, when you saying something and you like, ooh, that's not 100% true, and it comes out in your body language and you make a little face and your tone of voice goes up a little bit. The heart scarab was supposed to protect your what was left of, I guess, your humanness, if you will, so that your heart will not betray you. So, or again, that's what it was thought to do. And every person's was different and inscribed different with, you know, because again, people have different vices and needing protection from different things. So, the reason why, again, I said that for mental health is because when we're upset, oh, my chest is tight. Oh, my shoulders are tight. Oh, you know, like when something's not it, we like, you know, people might have headaches, but, you know, oh, my heart aches for them. Oh, you know, we still kind of talk about the heart. Right. So, all right. So African American adults may develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, we ain't even talking about post-traumatic slave disorder. We talking about regular post-traumatic stress disorder. So we get it. It is purported. Why? Because there haven't been enough studies. It hasn't been worthy enough to be fully and completely studied. But it is thought African Americans, and the ellipses in there, or the ... is in there because it said, and Hispanics, Hispanic peoples, may develop post-traumatic stress disorder at a higher rate than white adults. And the clinical cause of the PTSD in these minority groups is very, like, in general, they don't get classified. So we're not being aware that this is a thing. So one factor that can contribute to this is socio-cultural factors. So ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm fine, because, you know, talking about mental health makes you weak. racial stressors, experience with discrimination. We could all talk, like, since Trayvon Martin to now, we all done went through it. We all mentally, emotionally went through it, watching what happened to our brothers and sisters, dealing with what we deal with the microaggressions at work, dealing with what we're dealing with, watching TV every day, listening to these politicians talk, listening to these so-called celebrities talk, listening to the fake tears. Oh, I'm so sorry. Please don't cancel me.
You know, I didn't know you was gonna be all in my, you know. But I mean, because I think I mentioned on the last show that you was on that I have bipolar too. So, and part of my journey was at 23 when somebody suggested that. Hell no, I know you. Are you crazy? Ain't nothing wrong with me. Even though I'm doing all of these things that are like out of body experiences, and after I do all of these ridiculous things, I want everybody to come back to normal because now I'm normal, and I can't see why they still looking at me like, what was wrong with you? And so, but then now getting older and not having zero shame about it, is like, yeah, that's exactly what it be. Like, you don't want to, if you admit that something is wrong with you in that way, it's a weakness, or you know, and so yeah, I can relate to that 100%.
And you know, and I'm like, I probably shouldn't share the story, but I will because it just happened today. So I have a student who I'm trying to say without saying too many details, but essentially something happened health-wise, and she asked me for advice, and I said, girl, if you don't go to the nurse, go get checked. Like, when in doubt, it doesn't hurt to just check. Just make sure it's okay. And this student was very fearful of the parents' reaction. And the nurse ended up sending the student home. And the student had such a negative experience with seeking medical help that because the parents said, you're trying to get DIFUS called because you didn't tell me, you told the nurse. And they had since, this was last week, had fights every day. And then the student showed me today that this parent said, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to upset you. I just got to tell you how I feel. Like, I'm so sorry that you had to have an effed up parent like me.
Wow.
You know, that is PTSD. Stuff like that. And we go through life thinking like, oh, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Like, but it is killing you. We just don't talk about it. And, you know, I don't want to judge. And I says, have your mom ever been to therapy? And the student says to me and just looked at me, and I was like, I'm not going to judge. I'm gonna just be quiet.
Right.
I said, I just need you to understand that when you're an adult and you're out the house, that if something happens to you, go to the doctor. Just go. I don't care if it's a holistic. I mean, I didn't say this to her, but I don't care if it's a holistic doctor. I don't care. I don't care. Get it checked just to be sure. And you know, so again, living in urban areas where we're hearing gunshots. Like, I remember I lived in Newark for some time, and I was on my way to go to a class, and I went outside and it was all these people, and it was my first time ever seeing, it was a 16-year-old young man who was killed. He was stabbed. Because he had asked a young lady, because I think she worked at Foot Locker or he worked at Foot Locker or something like that. And one of them was asking the other one about sneakers, like getting sneakers, like, could you hook me up? And the boyfriend saw and stabbed the young man. And that was my first time ever seeing a dead boy in the street. And not just that, it blew my mind because they left him there. They left him there for damn near 40 something minutes. And I never forget that because I had nightmares about it. And like, I was like almost obsessed. Like, what was his name? What happened? Why did this happen? Da, 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 da. Like, it was just, it blew my mind. And to just see the EMTs, da, 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 and, you know, stuff like that. Gun violence. One of my students was literally shot by one of my former students Actually, no, this is the second one, a couple years ago. And over some gang related stuff. And he was shot in the street outside of school. And then the student who purportedly did it because they didn't have proof, even though, you know, everybody in the neighborhood knew who did it, and knew where he was, when he was, and all of that. They just, you know what I mean? Like seeing him in the street, seeing it on TV, having random counselors come in and tell you, come talk to me, when you've never talked to anybody in your life, because talking is weakness, crying is weakness. We have parents beating their children when they cry, saying, I'm gonna give you something to cry about. Tears have a purpose. Human beings are born with tear ducts for a purpose. And we are beating.
If you keep crying, I'm gonna hit you some more. Like that ain't gonna make them cry. Like what? The logic. It's a trip when you really think about it.
And I get it. Like, I understand why parents do these things. I understand why my parents did what they did. I get it. But again, if we're saying, okay, it's 2022, we have to do something to nation build. We have to look to the past to see we was real great here. And not to say they didn't have no nonsense. They had nonsense back then. They had all kind of garbage back then too. So no, of course, we're not going to repeat the garbage. We're going to take our time. We're going to analyze. We're going to see what they did and what they got right, so that, you know, we can try to better ourselves. But hell, it'll get us better than where we at.
Real quick, I'm gonna say a couple of things, and I look at the screen, and when I get done, you can go ahead and answer that question. But speaking on what the sister was speaking on when she was saying it was her first time seeing the dead body, unfortunately, I used to see him all the time from a young age. But my brother Shabaka, who most of y'all know, proposed something for March 19th, and it's show a brother or sister love day. In other words, take time out to show somebody, a brother or sister, who you wouldn't normally show love to, in whatever manner you decide to. A hug, throw them a $5 bill, a $10, $20 bill, buy them lunch, whatever the case may be, however you decide to do it, but show that individual some love. And the reason he picked March 19th, because March 19, 1995, we lost his older brother at the age of 22. And we both remember this day like yesterday, because March 19th, 1995, Michael Jordan came out of retirement for the first time. His brother couldn't stand Michael Jordan, so we called him, and we making fun like, hey, man, our boy back is finna be on, etc. And we talked for probably about 45 minutes. And we all went our separate ways. I went to work, Shabaka went to work, and then later that night, I got the call at work. And you was talking about how knowing what words mean. I'm 17 at the time, I believe, 17 or 18. And my grandmother called. I was working at Hardee's, and she was saying Dante in the morgue. But because she had been crying in her voice, I didn't know what she was saying, and I had never heard the word morgue before, believe it or not. In my late teens, with everything I saw growing up, I had never heard the word morgue. And so I'm like, he were? And the manager had to tell me. I was like, she said my cousin in the morgue. He was like, that mean he passed away. And I was like, nah, they made a mistake. And so she was like, your mother coming to get you. And I remember my mother pulled up, and I could tell by the look on her face that, you know, maybe it wasn't a mistake. And so that day just stays, it's constantly in our minds. And so he wanted to do that this year, just like, hey, I think we should start putting this forward every year in his memory, because in any given day we could have been with him when this took place. So, you know, that was his big brother, my idol. And the funny thing is, like a lot of young men my age, I'm 45, so this was 95. You know, I'm into all kinds of knuckleheaded stuff. My queen to this day, had admonished me about some of the things I was doing because we had a small child, and she was like, "Hey, you got to get a job. You can't be doing that type of thing to get money." Hopefully, I ain't got to go into too much detail, but you can't be doing that type of thing, and we got a child. But of course, I'm still trying to do it, and I got myself in a situation. And the last time I saw him in person, he had actually gotten me out of that situation and had came to talk to me about not getting back in a similar situation. And this was the last time I seen him. And I think back on that, like, he didn't want no money for it. He was just like, don't ever put yourself in a position where you can't pay for what that type of lesson. And, maybe this ain't what you need to be doing. Maybe you should listen to your lady, that type of thing. And I remember we walked outside on my grandmother's sidewalk, and my mother pulled up. He was like, "All right, I'm gonna get out of here because I know your mother don't want you hanging with me." And I was like, "Nah, she good," but he drove off. That's the last time I seen him. So that type of and that type of trauma in our community, like that story for me, everybody got a similar story. Whether it's a friend, a cousin, a brother, or whatever, everybody got a similar story. And so we can't take for granted how deeply rooted these things are in our community and why they are so embedded in our community. And the last thing, when we talk about PTSD, sometimes we cause PTSD and don't even realize it. My wife hit me with something a few weeks ago, and it was devastating to her, but it needed to be heard, because you know how sometimes you get into a heated conversation. So the last few years, these things that kind of get blown out of proportion, and you'd be like, "Dad, why did it take that turn?" But she expressed to me, like, when you was undiagnosed and you used to do XYZ and everything would turn into something traumatic. You would punch a wall, a door get torn off a hinge just off a little comment. She was like, "I got PTSD from that." And I'm like, damn, to hear somebody who you love with on a cellular level tell you they got PTSD because of something you did or behavior you displayed, it's like, damn. But we sometimes that happens. Parents do it to kids, spouses do it to spouse, so and we have to be cognizant of that and just own up to it and try to move forward, like you said, sort of evolve from those old behaviors. But that's all I had. I ain't mean to cut your wisdom.
No, it's fine. It's fine because it illustrates the point. And that to me is very important because like I even have I hate to say this, I have a student now who, so smart, and then just kind of went missing. And then I saw the student. I'm like, you look like you might be on something. And, because I work for, the school, I have see something, say something. Like, let's snitch, everybody. So, but one day he came back and I saw him, and I said, what's going on with you? Because you don't seem yourself. Like, and I said, he's like, oh, I'm gonna get my work done. I said, look, I said, this ain't the teacher talking. Like, the work, if the work don't get done now, it'll get done in summer school. If it ain't getting done in summer school, it'll get done next year. What's wrong with you? Like, what's up? And essentially what the student told me is, or alluded to, because they didn't even fully tell me, is that their brother passed away. And this young person has no grief support whatsoever. Doesn't know how to grieve, thinks that, doesn't know what to do. So instead, it most likely is doing some type of drugs. Right. And how many of us do that, where we don't have coping skills? We don't have self-soothing skills. So we turn to alcohol, we turn to drugs, we turn to sex, we turn to food. These are the things we do because we are, again, the ignorance that and again, it's not in a judgmental way. It's just we literally don't know how else to do, or this is how we've seen other people, or this is what our friends, oh, let's go get a drink. It'll be fine. Like, there are plenty of other tools and things out there, but in our community, we don't talk about it. And again, this is why, you know, and one of the sayings I was going to bring up later on when I got more into the text, which now I'm like, ooh, that might not even happen. But there's one proverb that says there's no one who is motherless or fatherless in the universe. So the idea that just because we don't know, as a person who might be inspiring, interested, or what have you, in being a Kemetic person, the idea is you are not alone. You always have the example, if you want to read the mythos, through the Neteru, because as we've talked before, the Neteru did some dumb stuff. You can learn the lessons from them. You can learn the lessons from the wisdom of, as far as getting advice for, what do I do in this situation? What kinds of what should I be looking for? What should I be going for? How should I handle this? How should I handle myself? Blah, 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 blah. But you know, I think that's part of the beauty of what Kemet has to offer. But again, like, I'm technically not even supposed to be there yet. So I just wanted to illustrate again, because sometimes some people will say, oh, mental health, like, you're just weak, or, oh, you're this or you're that. Like, no, it's science. There's science behind this too. So the idea of pruning, or synaptic density pruning, so the more trauma a person goes through, because the body has to, like, divert energy to deal with said trauma, their brain, because again, remember, the human brain doesn't finish getting developed until 25. So any type of trauma before the age of 25, or repeated trauma between the, like, you know, birth and 25, like, we are growing the brain. And if it is not growing and it is constantly disturbed, that's like being woken up in the middle of the night constantly. You know what's going to happen. You're going to be irritable. You're going to be angry. You're going to want to punch people in the face. Maybe that's just me. I like sleep. But it's just the idea of, like, you know, the more and more, instead of having more and more straight lines, we kind of see it gets broken and broken and broken, and there's more space. So we literally scientifically cannot function in our mind. So when we say PTSD, like, or, you know, because even people say, oh, I'm bipolar, haha, oh, I'm depressed, haha, and it's like, no, that's not a joke. Like, it's very serious, and it's something we don't even address. Our, you know, again, if we go back to economics, our health insurance, or we don't take advantage of what health insurance we do have, or what programs might be around us. I don't care if it's a sister circle, a brother circle, a formalized therapist, art therapy, prayer, meditation, something. You better be doing something. And we can even see the toxic stress, like, just stress alone. Like, when they say stress kills, that ain't no joke. That's for real science. Like, your brain is not doing what it needs to do. So you're more liable to make more mistakes, not make good decisions, not have good relationships, not be able to have intelligible conversations with other people. It leads into other stuff. But we never, and again, this is from ignorance. We don't know. We've not been taught. We don't talk about it. We don't want to look in the mirror. We're in denial, whatever it is, you know. So it's something that, again, we have to take seriously. So I want to get into, and trigger warning for those who, you know, just in case, the next little bit is about sexual assault and rape. So, you know, if you want to take a bathroom break or something real quick, or turn the volume down, I just want to be respectful of that, just in general, because, you know, it's a thing. So for every Black woman who reports rape, at least 15 do not. 1 in 4 Black girls will be sexually abused before 18. 1 in 5 women are survivors of rape. 35% of Black women experience some form of contact of sexual violence in their life. 40 to 60% of Black women report being subjected to coercive sexual contacts, AKA, we talking about, I was going to say Bill Clinton, but him too. I'm about to say Bill Cosby. So, like, you know, oh, we in the cloud, oh, we just drinking, oh, it's no big deal. Oh, like, that whole conversation about consent is not happening. 17% of women experience sexual violence other than rape by an intimate partner during their lifetime. More than 20% of Black women are raped during their lifetime, which is higher than other groups of women outside of Native Americans. So outside of Native Americans, like, I hate to say it like that, but they got us beat in that arena. Like their numbers are even like worse. Black women are 2.5.
They have their own sovereign areas a lot of the times, and so things are different to where we it. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was like, you peep my face. They are sovereign, but it is definitely, especially with human trafficking, because they do not have a lot of law enforcement and things like that.
Right.
They're going onto the lands and doing things to women.
Exactly.
So, you know, like that's why I was making a face. So
right, and that's what I meant. We supposed, or I should say, y'all supposed to have more protection than they do, and so it stands to reason why they would be, their numbers would be higher.
So, Black women are 2.5 times more likely to be murdered by a man than their white counterparts, and more than 9.9 in 10 Black female victims know their killer. Black women also experience significantly higher rates of psychological abuse, including humiliation, insults, name calling. Oh, you don't want to give me your number? You a beep, and you ugly, and you bald headed, and all that good stuff. And that is compared to women in total, in general. So in the chat, I'm sure the next slide is going to illustrate Black males. Hell yeah, because I'm equal opportunity. We going there. So, I mean, not this one, the next one. My bad. I had to.
Did you think the sister wasn't going to have my eye? She wasn't going to have balance?
Really? Say my whole name. Come on now.
Come on now.
So more than 20% of Black women are raped during their lifetime, higher share than women overall. 2.9. Oh, that's a repeat. My bad, y'all. So sexual violence against Black men and boys have remained routine and historically denied aspect of anti-Black racism. Despite the violence that defines their lives under racism, their stories and these public displays of racism's sexual components remain an unapproachable area of study under current disciplinary arrangement of knowledge, specifically in gender. There literally is just, the data is so sparse for Black men. It is hard enough to find molestation, sexual abuse, or anything like that for men in general, but most of that is for not Black men.
Hey sis, I didn't think you was gonna touch on nothing that was personal to me, but you didn't hit me in my stomach again. And shout out to my little bro Rocky in the chat, because and it's funny because usually when I talk about this, I get pushback from men, and that's why I denied it for so long. But I was talking, he was amongst the brothers I was talking to about my first encounter sexually, and it was with a woman who was almost 10 years older than me, who was supposed to be, you know, looking after me and my siblings. And for years of my life, I denied that it was, you know, molestation, because I just didn't, I couldn't see it like that. And I remember Rocky, who was Rocky old enough to be my son, and he was like, yeah, that's a problem. And I was like, usually men that I talk to about that, especially men my age, be like, bro, that ain't you think that's an issue? And so I would always just be like, yeah, nah, it was what it was, you know, and you know, kind of joking about it. And even on the call, I was joking about it, because you learn to sort of just go along. No, it wasn't that. It was this. And I always tell the young brother he brilliant, but he was like, right off the bat, he was like, that's a problem. And I didn't even really start seeing it as a problem. Me and my wife would argue about it, and she hit me one time. She was like, what if it happened to our son? And I was like, well, that's different. How? You know what I mean? So salute again, Queen, because you didn't hit me in my gut a couple of times in this PowerPoint. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely a conversation that, you know, as much as, and I don't want to get too far off in that area, but the idea that, like, when it comes to anything in that arena, we don't even touch it, talk about it, and it's not even studied. Like that's a huge problem, a huge problem. I think I shared that story that I had a former student try to tell me that when he was in 3rd grade, how his high school babysitter, and he was trying to convince me exactly what you was talking about. I said, 3rd grade, you was a baby. Like, things ain't even fully there. And I said, and somebody in high school was doing these things to you. And again, it's you know, you got you a younger man. Oh, you know what I mean? It's the sexism for me. Like, that's not okay.
Because
like,
if it was the other way around,
Yep. And I said that to, like, I even said that to my kids, where I said, but what's the difference between Cardi B and Bill Clinton? I mean, I keep saying Bill Clinton, Bill Cosby. I don't know why I keep calling Clinton. My bad. But it's the same thing. She got men drunk. She drugged them. She robbed them. But all she did was say, oh, I did what I had to do because I was a stripper back then. Oh, ha ha ha, you should know better. If you're dumb enough to get taken advantage of, ha ha ha, it's funny, ha ha ha. And I'm like, no, she pretty much did the same thing. It's the same damn thing. Like, I don't care what you're talking about right now. But all she had to do was joke about it. She didn't even issue an apology. Right. And then multiple men came out saying, yeah, she did that to me. And still nothing was done. So then what is that doing? You know, and this is why I say, even though, you know, we could talk about Black people, but we're even though we're amongst our own, we still mix with other groups within that. A lot of this stuff we sharing the toxicity, like we just passing it around. So so only 1 in 3 Black adults who need medical health care receive it. Most of the time, that also has to do with lack of health insurance or access to health insurance. A lot of people avoid seeking help simply because of racism, you know, not having enough medical personnel who can understand the cultural overtones and undertones and inner tones and all the tony-to-tone tones. So they are less likely to receive guideline consistent care. So even if someone reaches out, they may go to the emergency room, get the little bit of stabilization and go. They may not have a follow-up. They may not have anyone after that to assist them and help them. And again, socioeconomic factors, especially when it comes to health insurance, mental health is, I don't want to say a luxury, but it's seen almost as a luxury as part of healthcare. And it's really, really not, especially post-COVID, how many people are really kind of going through it. You know, it's ridiculous and it's so necessary. So again, mental health, like we have to, when I say these are our problems, it's the ignorance, it's the lack of healthcare, it's the lack of economics and just all of that mixed together. Now, again, granted, we got other things going on and other nuances, but this to me was the big 3 as to what our actual, like what our issue is. So why Kemet? You know, like again, there are many systems out there. So in Proverbs, and I want to say in there, he has this section about Kemet in general. And he says in there, ancient Kemet is the image of heaven and the shrine of the world. And he has this section as it's written by ancient historians. So not even contemporarily, this isn't anything, you know, that they're just coming up with or making up. Like, this is how ancient people. So the students of Kemet were Greece. The students, you know, going down the line were, you know, these other areas. They went there. So they were the pinnacle. They were what other societies, they sent their people there to learn. They sent their people there to, you know, bring back information and knowledge and books and all of these things. So, if it worked back then, why not do it now? Like, to me, that you can't tell me again, and for their longevity, how long they were around. Now, side note, the history teacher in me hates the fact that this does not say BCE. It like really grinds my gears, because time is not measured by one specific religion. So yeah. So yeah. And the fact that it says Egyptian, just because I'm not gonna lie, I was low-key lazy. I just did not feel like making a timeline. I just wanted to find one that was already done. So in general, the official numbers are around 4,000 years, but we understand that the pre-dynastic and archaic eras were around way longer before formalized Kemet even existed. So similarly, like we say, or we claim as, I am not going to read that, please. That distracted me. I see what you're trying to do.
I just wanted to see if you was focused. That's all.
No, clearly not. So in general, when we look at the whole history, yeah, that threw me off. Oh my gosh. Now I can't remember what point I was going for. Because I saw it and then I was like, don't look. And then he was like, I saw
your eyes go down. Because at first I wasn't going to even acknowledge it. Then I saw your eyes move. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so when it comes to the timeline, again, the idea that they had thousands of years to cultivate this body of knowledge. They had thousands of years for trial and error. They have thousands of years of mistakes that we can learn from. So just as we would do from our parents, our grandparents, and our bloodline, learning from their mistakes, why would we not do it from this civilization that was around for so many thousands of years? It to me, it's just a no-brainer overall. So generally speaking, when we talking about the wisdom text, there are 64 better known. These are the ones that are like popular. You could probably find it either online, printed in books, things like that. They're more accessible. There are plenty of other ones, but these are the ones that are either like they haven't been translated, or they're available for, you know, Egyptologists or in colleges and things like that. Like the public does not have access to them. But so not including those papyri, there are 64 that we have access to. So it's not just one book. You could go in many books, and it's not just you know, oh, how to float on a cloud, and you know, it has medical knowledge, it has, you know, architecture, it has mathematics, it has science, it has literature, it has prose and poetry, it has songs, it has the wide range and the depth. So again, this idea of when people say, oh, well, you know, Kemet, and it's just like, oh, y'all just want to do religion. It's like, no, religion was a big piece, but that's not the only thing that we have access to. And again, as a person, if we are saying like, you know, we're going for Kemet, this is what we want to do, we need to be well versed in the whole thing, because it's the whole culture. The whole culture was existing during these thousands of years. It wasn't just, okay, we're just religious, F politics. Like, we're not doing politics for these next thousands of years. Like, no, you have tax data. They have economic data. Like, they have all of these things, which, you know, if we have this huge movement of economics and entrepreneurship these days, why are we not looking to, well, what did they do? Because they were around for this amount of years. They flourished for XYZ amount of years. What can we emulate? What can we do in general? And then we, so that's why I was saying 10 diverse applicable topic areas. So again, out of the 64 better known papyri, we have this diversity for us to look at, to model ourselves or gain inspiration from. So, generally speaking, these are the books that I would say, like, if people are looking to get into the wisdom texts in general, these are way, like, super, super user friendly. They are in more contemporary language, which, you know, again, due to our education, miseducation, or schooling, you know, that's why I say these versus, you know, some other texts. So again, the book that was like super beat up, this is the same one as the one in the middle, just a different title there. So I'm not going to go ahead and read them because I picked out a couple of things and I wanted to talk about them, but we clearly like way longer than I thought I was going to be. So the one that said no one is motherless or fatherless in the universe. They have one that's what is this? See, now I'm tempted to look. I'm sorry, y'all. As a plain garment bears, best adorns a beautiful person, so decent behavior is the best adornment of inner wisdom. So again, like my aunt used to always tell me, I can tell a person's character by how much they curse. And that's how she would look at people, to say, well, if you can't express yourself by using any other language than foul language, that means you haven't tried. And that's like the way. So I had that in my mind. So when I see that, it's this idea of, you know, everybody want to look fly, you know. So, but what use is it looking fly if, you know, my behavior is ugly, my character is ugly, I treat people ugly, I talk to people ugly, I don't speak beauty and love. I actually, that was something I read earlier today in study session, where there's a certain prayer that says, like, I have the eyes of Het Haru. And if Het Haru is love, Het Haru is joy, Het Haru is you know, sensuality, Het Haru is all of these different things. Am I looking at the world in love? If I, you know, my forearm is Neith. Neith is all about precision. She's all about hitting the mark. You know, her symbol were bows and arrows. So as I go into the world, if I'm working with my hands, as I reach out to, you know, touch the physical world around me, am I doing so with precision and guidance, or am I just being haphazard? You know, so and again, that's not any of these books where I was reading that from, but it's the idea that, you know, and I know the jokes about like, oh, Ra's gonna save me in the second and the third, like, respectfully, that's the Abrahamic interpretation of what the Kemetic was about, because it was levels, you know, like it's not just the superficial, oh, they're gonna come, the sky gods are gonna come, like it ain't about that. You are the sky god and the sky god is you, therefore you will save you, period. Like that was one of the texts that was saying, like, and part of the repetition of the prayer was talking about, you know, and he shall raise himself to heaven, talking about, I believe it was Pepi the First, and it was saying, you know, he will raise and do this and raise himself to heaven and da 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 da, and raise himself to heaven, da 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 da, and raise himself to heaven. So yes, we look at the inspiration, we look at the vibration, we look at the energy, we look at the metaphysics, we look at all of that, and we apply that to ourselves, because at the end of the day, I'm bringing me to heaven. I'm gonna go to work and I'm gonna make the life that makes me have a heavenly, enjoyable life. I will have the money that will make it so that I can make a better life for those around me and the people that I love. Like, I'm looking to buy a house for my mother and myself and my elderly aunt. So I have positioned myself economically so that I can bring happiness to those that I love. And I do this because I'm inspired and told that this is the way, this is what I need to be doing. And if we do these things as a collective, then, you know, we can start nation building, because we're taking care of our elders. We are having property. We are cultivating our economics. We are doing all of these things that we say we want, instead of just bitching about white people and bitching about Christians. Like, for what though? So anyways, back to it.
Is Jersey in the house?
I'm sorry.
Nah, you're good. You're good.
So talking about like labor and how we use our labor. Do we just go to let the check make us, or like, what are we going to do with the check? Where are we going? How much are we saving? How much are we investing? What are we doing? From the stele of Jehudi Nefer, consume pure foods, pure thoughts with pure hands, adore celestial beings, become associated with wise ones, sages, saints, and prophets, and make offerings to nature. So if we are nature, and nature, you know, it is on both levels. So we are going to make sure we are, you know, not overeating. We're not emotionally eating. We're not eating stuff that's going to give us heart attacks, to reduce our lives, to leave our children as orphans, because we all know the state ain't going to take care of them. And then if we trust somebody else, you know, blah, blah, blah. There's another one in here about forgiveness. A lot of people don't want to do, because America likes to tell, be petty. That's good. That's a good thing. That's what we emphasize. And judging other people. The idea of sometimes we can't, and I'm not going to fully read it, but the gist of it goes, if you are a person who is of status, if you are a person of stature, you're a person who is respected, just listen to people. Just listening to them and let them get what's off their heart. I cannot. I'm not looking over there no more. I'm about to turn this off. I can't.
I told you, just ignore.
You out here distracting me.
Just ignore. Q been trying to get your attention since he got in the chat. I'm telling you.
Nah. So again, the idea of listening to another person, even if you can't give them what they want, even if you can't meet them halfway or 3/4 of the way or 1/4 of the way, the fact that you had the respect enough to let the person get off their chest what they needed to get off, to hear them out and stuff like that, goes a long way. And that is something that when we're talking about mental health, the parents aren't doing it with the kids aren't doing it with the parents, we're not doing it with each other, we're not doing it in relationships, we're not doing it politically. We're not listening. We hollering at each other. Again, just look at half of these Facebook groups, you know, where everybody's hollering and saying, you don't know, I'm smarter than you. You know, the ego is out there. So the other book is the Husia. That's this one. That's the first one. So this is a compilation by Dr. Maulana Karanga, the gentleman who made or created Kwanzaa and the US organization. So this and his book on Ma'at are good. This one is interesting, but it's a nice little encapsulation of just different quick things that people can look to. And oh, I'm sorry. That's one of the reasons why I was recommending Egyptian Proverbs, because let me see. So if you, well, where am I? Something, I don't know, I'm hoping it makes sense, but it's where am I? Geez, it's like it's all backwards, but you could actually see like he has it divided. So if you're having a bad day, or if, like, you know, your husband or your wife said something to you and it made you angry, you could look up something about anger, like, oh, okay, what do I do? If you're feeling sad, what should I do? Like, you could look something up to try to get your mind right instead of just sitting in that feeling. So this one specifically, I like it because it has the actual, like the book of Kemetic, the book of Ankh, the book of somebody who I don't want to open the book to try to find off the top of my head. But again, like it has stuff talking about arrogance. It has stuff talking about ego and power, leadership, marriage, actually 3 things on marriage, like how to treat your spouse, what you should be going for and looking for. Not speaking falsely, not, you know, doing any of that. So the last book that I have, or the last collection of books, is Ancient Egyptian Literature. So those are good if you just kind of want to see the progression of Kemetic literature. And again, this is just stuff that has to do with like funerary things. It has actual stories. So the orange one, the one that looks like this one actually has like none of them have mythos in them, but I just wanted to turn to the table of contents. So it has hymns and prayers, monumental inscriptions. That's what a lot of the other books have also. But the reason why I picked that is it has so instructions, how, like stuff that has to do with being a scribe. So again, people out here talking about, oh, I'm a scholar, You know, I read, I study. Like, it actually has stuff for people who are just trying to study, like instruction for that kind of thing. Again, education, what education looks like and how it is, how it should be, what we should be going for as Kemetic people. It has love poems. So I'm skipping over that because I feel like mad jokes. Tales. So the destruction of mankind, the two brothers, truth and falsehood, the story of Haru and Satesh, etc. So again, it's just the idea of, it's not all about floating on a cloud and being a vegan and all that kind of stuff. Like, it has practical application. So I know when you first asked me to come on, you was like, we gotta talk about the pert. Like, we gonna talk about the pert and Haru and da 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 da. So right. I wanted to make sure I included it. So the pert in general, me specifically, I am starting to now get more into the pert simply because I am transitioning into doing more ancestral research and work. So now it's coming more in handy, but that in general is its function. So generally speaking, to me, it is not a beginner's book. And it, you know, you can find deeper meaning in it. You can, find things that apply to everyday life. But it is much more geared towards after we transition. So again, if like we talked about economics earlier with making a will or planning for that kind of thing, this is an excellent book. But if it just comes to the everyday regular schmegula, that like outside of literally, and I wrote it down. So outside of page 194 to 203, where that actually lists the 42 Tepra and Ma'at. And again, the yellow book is my personal preference because it has the actual glyphs, it has the transliteration, which is like how to pronounce it, and it has the English there. And so this way, you know, I am still learning how to speak Rani Kemet and write Seshmeru Nature, but it's a whole nother level to be able to speak in the language and read in the language of the ancestors, plural. You know, that is something I'm working on now, memorizing the 42 in the actual language to be better connected to that vibrationally and just energetically. But that to me, like for the everyday, outside of those pages, unless you're doing ancestor work, like Purdom Haru is not really a beginner's type of book. And I don't mean that to be insulting to people or anything like that, but it's just the idea that, you know, again, if our relationship with education is already kind of at a push-pull place, to start out at what would be a high school or college level. And I'm not saying this to be disrespectful to people's intelligence or anything, but again, if we don't know anything about Kemet outside of what we learned in high school and middle school, to just all of a sudden jump in it and get there, it's too accelerated, too fast. You might miss some stuff along the way, which honestly is one criticism that I feel exists within the Kemetic community, that so many people want to be high and mighty and up here that they's missing the basics. So that. So I have the Faulkner version there, which is the one that's on the right. That one has the actual pictures of the whole papyri. So that's why that is there in general, to again get familiar with the reading of it. It's something that's very, very important. So I know a lot of times people will say, and one of my seba or sebau will say, or my teachers, he will say, like, you know, we use little words like Hetep and we use little like Ankh and Ma'at. We have little greetings, but we're not actually talking to each other. So it's as like a little child when they just repeat and stuff, but they really don't know what it is they're saying. And it's like, if we're really going to be about this, we need to be literate. We need to have education. We need to learn how to read. We need to learn how to speak. We need to know grammar. And, you know, even though the American educational system has taught us that we hate reading and we hate writing and we have this tumultuous relationship, like, we don't need to bring that to Kemet. That this ain't that. So you know, just kind of putting that out there. Like, we really do need to make a better effort to learn how to speak Ronnie Kemet, to learn how to write Sesh Medu, how to understand the transliterations, how to understand the manual decodage, so that we could text each other. Like, could you imagine how much more powerful we could be if we are, you know, let's say if we're have a protest, and if we remember like the Arab Spring or any of those other revolutions, and they were communicating to each other in code through encrypted things, if we could write in manual decodage, how much further we could get, because the cops don't speak that, you know. But we're not moving like that. We're not thinking like that. We just, you know, oh, I hate white people and Christians, raw, because they did this to me. Kemet, Hatep. It's like, wow, no. So my suggestions. So one, I would say, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Ma'at is great, and its effectiveness lasting. It has not been disturbed since the time of Asar, which was supposed to, I misspelled something, my bad. So sorry, y'all. So Asar was supposedly the first king that brought civilization to Kemet in general. So pretty much since the beginning of Kemet, that Ma'at has been there. So there is punishment to the covetous one. When the end is nigh, Ma'at lasts. So the idea is, whether I'm here and I'm gone, you're here and you're gone, our kids, the sun explodes, Ma'at will still be in existence, because Ma'at is the principle, not just some deity up in the sky. That's not what this is about. It's about what she represents. In addition to, because again, when we have these deities, they exist so that we can better connect with the principles and things that they represent. Not just like that's very shallow. It's very Abrahamic. Like, no, it's very short-sighted. No. So ethics and social structures. Morality is something that that's personal and normative, meaning it creates our norms, our everyday life, how we see the world. Whereas ethics is a standard of good and bad distinguished by a certain community or social setting. So if we are sitting here saying we are committed to you, like it boggles my mind how many people will claim Kemet and not even foundationally accept the norms. The norms of Kemet was Ma'at, period. Ma'at was in existence in the beginning, the end, the middle, all over the place. Every time there was a restoration, it was to restore Ma'at. It was to restore what once was. Like what was from the pre-archaic era all the way throughout. These principles were there. So for us to sit here and say, oh, well, I could do what I want and I got my feelings and I could, you know, I'm in control and I'm this and if your I don't got Ma'at somewhere on there, no, that's not it. Because at the end of the day, if we're committed to you, we subscribe to Ma'at, we abide by Ma'at, we live, act, speak, and do Ma'at, period. That is not, and I have to say, I definitely got that from Rasan Kukepra. I can't claim that one, that last little bit. So, you know, shout out to him in the Temple of Anu, because I'm not trying to be out here, you know, making it like I made that part up. I definitely did not make that part up. So, so ethics tries to create a sense of right and wrong in society. So again, if our education is jacked, if our economics are jacked, if our mental health is jacked, and a lot of that has to do with the system that we're in, the system that we are a victim, I hate that word, but a victim to, then creating a society that is based in Ma'at takes our own power back. Because one, this is an African-based conception, so it doesn't have to do with Euroness, and we therefore can now have this strong foundation to build this nation we say we want. So when we do that, when we start thinking ethically, because I know a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, we already got all these churches out here and this, that, and the third, and I'm not trying to do the religion thing and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, but as humanity, the function of ethics and morality is to have structure. Even like, you know, if we want to think about it this way, even the Christians are in Ma'at because they are creating structure for themselves. And if that's the only structure that exists, that's the structure that we're going to go off of. So my thought is we should reject that, embrace what it is, you know, or unless, you know, because I know you have a varied audience, you know, whatever those systems are, embrace that ethical foundation to nation build with. Stop being so hung up on what the Christians did and what the white people did to better actually make it, because this, like, that way of thinking is similar to like, oh, my girlfriend or boyfriend cheated on me when I was 16 and I could never move on. Like that's us. That's what we're doing as a society, as a group. That's what we're doing. We're not moving on. We're not healing. Our basic human needs are still at the whim of the other groups, the outsiders. So why are we not doing it and taking that? We need to create our own standards. Again, if the standard is Ma'at and everything comes from there, it's easy. It's already been done. We don't need to reinvent anything. It can unite us as well as leadership. So all this idea of I ain't listening to you, I ain't listening to you, da, 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 da. If all the leaders come together and they are under Ma'at, you know, it's easy to keep them accountable. It's easy to say, oh, no, you false. You got to go because you're not subscribing to the ethics. We all agreed this is what we're doing. Improving decision making. So we don't have to keep making the same traumatic decisions. We don't have to keep that going. We can change it. We have that power. And you know, again, no one is motherless or fatherless, even if you don't have good examples, even if you know, don't have anybody, you feel alone, this, that, and the third. This is why the text is so important, because where that fails, listen to the ancestors. They will tell you and advise you and lead you as to how that could be handled. Long-term gains. We'll finally have a nation because we built it. We made it. And then we can have it flourish. That will be the next step. But we have to start somewhere. And then securing our society, because if we have standards and something that we all agree, this is what we're doing, this is how we're moving. And granted, I can't say that this is going to be all Black people. Like, you know, unfortunately, not everybody's going to get down. And that's okay. They have their own thing. But if we are saying, we're doing Kemet, we're following Kemet, we're doing this, this is what we need to do, period. And we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We need to secure ourselves and our foundation to actually create this nation that we say. And I've said this before, as much as we hate institutions, because what has happened to us in this country, you know, I get why people avoid it, don't want it, want to dismantle it, want nothing to do with it. However, every society, every civilization has social institutions. Otherwise, we're just going to be a bunch of individuals doing whatever the hell it is we want. So therefore, that is not a nation, because a nation is a society. A nation is a collection of people who come together to get a certain thing accomplished, period. So when we say, okay, Ma'at is the ethical foundation. Now, how does that apply to families? How does that apply to our economics? How does that apply to our religion or our spirituality? How does that apply to our education and how we are learning? How does that apply to our politics or our state? Because, you know, we're making our own state. So again, it's very, very incredibly important. So as ancient Kemet was fully built on the concept of Ma'at, so should the nouveau Kemetic seek to reestablish Ma'at in our foundational norm, ethically, morally, and socially. So how do we do this? These are my suggestions. So 1, read and recite the 42 Tepra and Ma'at daily. So I, on my YouTube channel, and I did it for me. Like, honestly, I create a lot of the things I create because I want them. And I just figure, well, if nobody made it, like, I'm going to just do it. So I recorded myself doing the 42 Tepra and Ma'at, and I read through them and I literally listen to them either as I'm getting ready or on my way to work every day, every single day. So and it puts me in a certain zone to know, because I'm like, oh, my boss is going to be XYZ. These kids are going to be blah, blah, blah. This person's going to cut me off. But when I'm focused on, I will not be a woman of anger. When that angry moment comes up, I'm like, oh, this morning I said I wasn't going to be a woman of anger. You know, like I can keep myself in check. And again, this idea that I am divinity and divinity is me. I am Ma'at because I am who I say I am. I am this person who reads these things, who abides by the natural laws. So therefore, I don't need a sky person to come get me. I got me because we are one and the same. So my second recommendation, I'm sorry, I forgot. The other thing I meant to say, because I have it right. Okay, hello. Of course, this thing stuck. So the other thing I have is I created, I'm like, oh, I don't know why I can't figure out what's straight or not. But so I created this sign, and it's the 42 Tepra Ma'at. And I have it placed in two places in my house. I have it right in front of, like when I brush my teeth in the morning, so I could like glance through it, and I have it on my door as I leave. So again, it's constantly something I'm looking at. Remember I said I'm a visual learner. So if I see it, you know, like it'll be in my head. So purposely creating tools for myself to make sure that, you know, I'm going in that direction. So that's one. Two, undergo personal work, whatever that might look like. So that could be, for some people, it's yoga. For some people, it's a healing circle. For some people, it's therapy. For some people, it's, you know, working out. But getting involved in a positive thing to kind of not solve, but address. Because what good is a nation when we're a bunch of broken people? Like it just won't work. And it's not to say that no one's going to have problems. It's going to be this perfect utopia, and we're just going to start floating into the sky. Like that's just. I was about to
say, are we going to make Wakanda?
Even Wakanda had problems.
True that.
They have problems. So, you know, we can only be as good as we are at the level that we are. So it behooves us to the Hemamentu, the unborn generations. It behooves us to the children that are now. It behooves us to ourselves. It behooves us to natural law, Ma'at, nature, nurture. You know, it behooves us to get our together. You know, otherwise we're never going to get there. We're just going to be a bunch of crybabies for the rest of our lives. Then we're going to die, and our kids are going to be crybabies, and so on and so on and so on.
There it is. I got one more you can add to that, though. And as far as what you listen to on your way to work, Pianki going to have me come in, and somebody in the chat going to be thirsty that I got to ignore. You can laugh.
I'm gonna just
go ahead and add that to your list.
Lord have mercy.
I put the link in the chat, so we're gonna have people coming in and asking questions as soon as you wrap it up.
All right.
Not that I'm rushing you, though. I'm not rushing you.
So I just realized, I don't know why I'm like, dang, I'm seeing all my mistakes right now. I'm judging myself, y'all. So
that's how it always is, though. But don't worry about it. Ain't nobody else gonna see them. You see them because they pronounce to you, but
oh no, I got 2 3s. That's why I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to have 6, not 5.
I wouldn't even tripped off of it had you not said nothing.
Oh well. Such is my odds. So 3, study primary sources. A lot of times what I see is people will read secondhand information and then build their belief system off of secondhand information. And again, this has to do with education. Like that's not it. We always looking at primary sources. We want to see, what do the papyri say? So we need to be reading those accessible 64. We need to be looking at the Ebers Papyrus. We need to be looking at the Papyrus of Ani. We need to be looking at all of these different things instead of somebody telling us what it is or watching a YouTube video about a 10-minute video about what it is. We need to have the fortitude to actually be who it is we say we are, because it's important and the time is yesterday. Then at 4, not 3, read credible secondary sources. Meaning, there are some people out there, like anybody these days could write a book. Anybody can make an ebook. Anybody could publish something on Amazon respectfully, you know, and some of these people, you know, it is better for them to do it outside of the system. But you have to be careful because there's fake news afoot everywhere, whether it's in a meme, whether it's in a published book, whether it's in, a group online. We need to be ever vigilant of what the information that we are consuming and how it fits into our paradigm. Aha. So after that, at number 5, join local ASCAC. So ASCAC is a group that has been around for a long time. For anybody who doesn't know, ASCAC is all about pushing forward, understanding classical African, specifically Kemet, but they also go into like Nubia and other areas also. But they specifically take the time to study and do research with the primary sources, but it is a group of Black folks and people of color. So a lot of times people be like, oh, I don't trust these Egyptologists. These white people just gonna lie to us and blah, 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 blah. It's like, bro, we got to start somewhere. Like, come on. Like, we can't just pull it out of the rectum. Like, we got to start somewhere. So if not, ASCAC and ASCAC, especially because of COVID, they've been doing a lot more stuff online. And I also think it's a great place because it could be a hub for all of us in general to get together. If you do not have a local ASCAC, they always are talking about, like, if anybody wants to open a local chapter to make their own study group. So you can create a study group through them. Or just in general, if you have a local Kemetic study group around you, to join them. Again, no one needs to be told what to do, but education, one big part of education comes through means like this: having conversations, talking back and forth to one another, sharing ideas, understanding perspectives and different ways of looking at stuff. So that's why 5 and 6 are so, so important. So 6, which is labeled as 5, regularly visit or join local Kemetic shrines and temples. Now, the reason why I say this, and I know a lot of people be like, oh my God, religion, pineapples, no. So I get it. You know, religion may not necessarily be for you. You may have been scarred, that, you know, but if we do a number 2, that was immature, my bad. So if we are subscribing to rule number 2, I had a whole moment. You know, we will understand and be able to properly put into place the trauma that we experience through the Abrahamic way, or, you know, whatever religious experience that we had before. But the idea is Kemet was a multifaceted place in which all groups were part of the spiritual system in some way, shape, or form. So it behooves us, to at least know what's going on. Even if it's not something, that in general we want to do on the regular because of whatever people's reasons might be. As a nation, again, if we are built on the ethics of Ma'at, if we are morally doing Ma'at, speaking Ma'at and all that, then between the education that we get through ASCAC and the education that we get through the temples, because the temples aren't just sitting there like, you know, farting glitter, like they doing stuff too. So, but you'll never know if you don't go. And if you go there with the heavy heart, if you go there with a chip on your shoulder, with something to prove, then you're not going to get nothing out of it, like in general. But it's a group, like, it's kind of like a family reunion. This is why I say you have to go with the pendulum swing. You can't be all education and scholarship. You can't be all religion and glitter farts. You got to be able to have that ma'at. So these are my in general recommendations. And I'm so sorry it took me so long, but that's me. That's my information.
Oh, you're good, Queen. You broke it down. You broke it down so it can forever and completely be broke, as my man said on Love Jones. And so, with that being said, I got a couple of brothers who wanna ask questions. I'm gonna ask y'all to keep the questions to one apiece because the Queen got to get out of here. She got classes to teach and whatnot, and we all got to get up early in the morning. Yeah. So one apiece, and that'll be that. Nice picture, by the way, on the PowerPoint, Queen.
Oh Lord, thank you.
You done sharing the screen?
Yep, that's it. Let me stop. There I go.
All right. So let me add the brothers. My brother Asar, did you have a question or were you still just listening? I think he's still just listening. Okay. Let me get Rocky in.
Hey, what up, Rock? Peace. What's up? What's up? Can y'all hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. And real quick, Rocky, before you go, y'all see the Cash App, donate to the Queen Cash App. I think this was a powerful, powerful lesson. Probably the best lesson I've seen on my channel by anybody. So let's show our appreciation to the Queen for taking the time to put this thing together. So hit that Cash App for those of you who are still with us. $1, $2, $5, 20, 50, whatever. Wow. Show the sister, show the Queen some love. Go ahead, Rocky.
Nah, that's facts. I said in the chat, this is probably the best presentation that we done had. Y'all talk about, before I ask my question, I just want to say, one, I'm an atheist, right? But y'all talk about the balance on this show on point. You know what I mean? I'm not even into the Kemetic stuff per se. But dang, Bianchi, y'all killing me. I know you gotta get up. I had 3 questions I wrote down. Dang, I'm trying to balance out. Hold on, which one more important? I guess I go with the one I wrote down last, because that'll be probably more fresh in your mind. When you're talking about protocol, right? Mm-hmm. I sent a research protocol, at least. I sent Bianchi one of my favorite articles to refer to. Is from a PhD out of the university in Nigeria. But anyway, can you just go over some of I know you dabbled on it a little bit, but can you just go a little bit deeper into some of the protocols into ascertaining the information, especially when it comes to ancient Kemet, right? Because what I find that happens is we'll Google something or we'll look some up, and we may even find a papyrus. We may find a transliteration at it, but there's still protocols. You know, there's still protocols in whatever research methodology you're using as steps to verification. You know what I mean? So if you could.
Okay. So generally speaking, I just want to give like the little asterisk disclaimer in this area. I am still also a student myself. However, just as good practice, one thing that I would say would be as you're looking at different translations and transliterations, the older it is, the more dated it will be, the more subject to, maybe like some racism or some sexism or, different types of interpretations as to how they kind of go with it. As far as like what words they're using and things like that. So generally speaking, I like Budge because of certain things he offers, but for the most part, I know that Budge is like not really accurate anymore. But again,
I was gonna say, oh, sis, man, Budge is unreliable. Come on, sis.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead.
No, again, I like him because he has the glyphs there and the transliteration and the English. So that's why I like it. It's a habit I have. That's why I said I'm getting there. But what I usually try to do is just look up who the actual person is, how long ago it's from. And then also I use multiple sources. So the idea that, clearly no one person is going to have it all. So using different authors and comparing them and taking the time and understand, like, that is the education of it, where we have to use empathy. We have to discern what it is that's being revealed to our education, to our minds, and to our brain space. So being able to use different authors, understanding, okay, this one's old, they might bring this to the table, but this one over here is more modern, and being able to read the same book from 3 different authors. But again, do we have the intellectual educational fortitude to do such things? Most people just want to read it once, say I read it once, and be done with it. They like the actual studying of it, breaking it down, comparing it, talking about it, all of that is what really needs to, like, that to me is how I would say would be the best way to go about it. But it's a process. It's not just and then done.
Yeah, it take critical thinking, and that's a skill.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's a skill. Pianki, if you got the sis contact on her Facebook, I want you to send her what I sent you, because I think she'll find that very interesting. It's a great read. It's like 50 pages or something like that. But before I get up out of here, I just want to say one thing. I appreciate the presentation. It was literally facts, the best presentation on Pianki channel. Like, that's no cap. That's no cap.
Real
and
talk.
Then I also want to say Cube Hop did his thing like he on the Summer Jam screen or something.
Hey, Rocky, I was gonna say before you left, have you ever even seen Cube camera on?
I ain't never seen bro this happy. I mean, he opened the cameras.
I've never seen that man. I think this is the first time I seen Cube face. The queen got my brother on. He not lit. He on fire, literally.
Hey, Pianki, normally Cube come on the panel mad,
ready to curse somebody
come
out.
on the panel ready to talk.
He all smiles tonight. My goodness. All right, Rocky, I appreciate you, bro.
Oh, I did want to say about the questions though. Like, if there are other questions, I'm not sure if there's a way we could like just have them in the chat, or if you have like in your group on Facebook, if we can under the video maybe just have the questions, and at least I could still answer them.
That's a good idea. I hope you heard that, Rocky. In the Facebook group, the other 2 questions you had, put them under the video in the Facebook group.
Yeah, and I can answer them there. Or do my best.
All right, Cube, this is the moment you've been waiting for the last 2 hours and 40 minutes, my brother.
All right, so where's my mic? So listen, man. I thought this was listen, relax. So yes, I'm your secret admirer. I'm the brother that had issues with some things that you said, and I'm also the brother that also gave you your accolades and your flowers when I agree with you. Is that fair?
That's fine. I was just trying to get through it.
Yo, you try to block me out half the time. Like, oh, I can't read this nigga shit. Like, hell no.
Because if I start, then I'll start off a whole nother direction. Like, I was asked to talk about the text. Like, me try to stick to the text.
Nah, that was cool. That was cool, and it was dope as shit because like you kind of blotted me out. And I'm gonna tell you, man, Pianki is fronting though. I do this with everybody that come on this channel. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you could, like, you started off at the beginning. Nah, listen, this ain't even cap. You start off at the beginning like, damn, it's a nigga in here already hating, talking about my shit is pseudo on the surface. That was me. But listen though, I do that with everybody. I'm an atheist, sister. So automatically I'm gonna look at the magical powers of Kemet and be like, the fuck? Like that's just natural. So I didn't mean any harm by that. But I'm telling you, after listening to the program and your presentation, man, that shit was dumb fire. There was a few things that I learned, but most of that stuff I really did know. But what it does is it kind of puts the timer on us and say, damn, okay, now you do know it, Q. Well, now what you gonna do about it? So like a lot of these things have to continuously be brought out so we can then now say like, okay, well, yeah, you do know it. Now what do you do about it? You know what I'm saying? So that was dope, and I could rock with that. But I have multiple questions, but since there's I've been reduced to one. I'm gonna ask this one.
Okay.
Are you in the Facebook group, Q?
No, but I need to be if she gonna be in there.
She been in there since I started it, Q. She been in there since I started it. But
Well,
look, I'm gonna add you to the group. So the questions that you didn't get to ask, put them under the video.
Nah, don't add me, nigga. Nah, let me stop.
Whatever. See, you made the sister smile. Now you just made her roll eyes. You're blowing it, man.
Nah, listen. Hey, listen, sister. You need to check your cash app because there's a, you know.
I'm trying to be give my attention. So I'll look at it.
Yeah, do all of that. Yeah, but listen, one question, just on a serious tip, one question that I did have since we're reduced to one question that I did have is that how does any of this correlate? And I saw the attempted correlation that you attempted to make, towards the end of when it came to Kemetic, because a lot of the stats that you brought out, those were stats that were done by the FBI and things of that nature through government entities in America. So how does that necessarily relate to Kemetic? Because if we want to talk about, we want to introduce college more so to Black men, which was one of your points. If we want to decrease the, say what?
Was that one of my points?
No, it actually was, because you were talking about the rates of Black men, how they go to college. And what you were saying was that we need to introduce that more to where Black men should go to college more. That was one of your points.
Okay.
You don't remember that?
No, I remember talking of it, but I wasn't necessarily saying that we had to do that. It was like,
yeah, she talked about entrepreneurship and
okay. Hold on. Let me elucidate it for you.
I think you was looking, but I don't know if you was listening.
Nah, bro, I was all the way there. Listen, bro, I promise you. But listen, I promise you, I was all the way there, because listen, when she talked about the rates of things that happen to Black women sexually, these were very high rates, and she wanted to reduce these things, which I agree with. So when she began to talk about Black men at the rate that they do go to college, then quite naturally we should be trying to increase these things, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying like anything nefarious. So like how does that correlate or stem from Kemetic? Like how can you use Kemetic spirituality to actually increase the rate that Black men go to college, that Black women are less assaulted sexually? Like what is one of your ways to do that? And like I said, I'm an atheist, and if you can find a great way, I'm converting.
No pressure at all. Okay. So in, I guess, the world in my mind, when I think of Kemet, I think of, and it goes back to what the point I was trying to get at is this idea of, if we agree that ethically we're going for Ma'at, that means that people will be going through the behaviors. So the idea of, I'm like, oh, now I gotta go up here.
Oh yeah, you got to get in that bag messing with me. I'm gonna get you in that bag.
So I will not murder any man or woman. Right. I will not act deceitfully. I will not tell lies. I will not attack anyone. I'm not going to go with that one. I will not commit any sin against my own purity. I will not cause terror. I will not do that which is abominable. I will not lust or commit fornication. I will not avenge myself. I will not work grief or abuse anyone. I will not act insolently or with violence. I will not do harm or evil. I will not behave with arrogance. All right, the rest are just other ones. So those, when we're talking about like reducing the rates, and we're saying, well, okay, we want to stop sexual assault. We want to do this, that, and third. So if we're understanding that as people within this society, if we're building this society, then it must naturally go down, in that we understand that if a woman says this, that, and the third, because when I think of it, when we think of sexual assault, when we think of like rape and things like that, it most of the time has to do with power, not sexual pleasure. So and that power is okay, well, why do you feel powerless? Why do you feel like you have to take your power and subdue someone else? That's the issue. That's the problem. So if we're sitting here and say, okay, but we're with my aunt, this is what we rocking with, and you violating all them things by coming crazy at a woman or coming crazy at a man, because again, it goes both ways, that you know, you are in violation. And as a society, with what we are setting up, you are in violation. And therefore, ethically, these are the punishments we agree that go in our society. Go ahead.
So what are those punishments? Because I would posit Christianity, and Christianity has a litany.
Q.
I know it was one, but I'm kind of
you're not here to debate, man.
No,
Question.
No, I'm not debating.
You had one question. Say goodbye to the queen, Q. And I'm gonna holler at you. I'm gonna add you to the group though, and you can put the rest of your questions on the video.
I'm gonna put my email in the back chat, sister, and please email. I'm sorry. And with that being said, I'm booted off. And
salute. I ain't gonna boot you off because you're gonna put your email in the thing. You can't do that.
Oh,
if I boot you off.
Forgot. Hey, peace.
So I'm just gonna remove you, but put your email in there for the.
So let me blow this last kiss to the sister. Nah, let me stop. I'm doing too much. Oh yeah, that was for you, sister. That was for you. Oh, you just blocked my shit with my eye? How you block my kiss with my eye? Hey, listen, you know what? Let me go. Let me go. I'm out. Peace, man.
Right, man. Cube then washed his face and everything, man.
Oh gosh. But there was another point that he had asked about the education. So I mean, I think the best way to answer that one, because you know he ain't here now, but but I do want to at least respectfully attempt to answer where he was saying you know, how can we inspire, or that we should have more men going to college. I wasn't necessarily trying to say that. I was just saying in general, if this is a marker of where we're at, period. But if we want to just increase education in general, let's be clear, everyone in Kemet was not literate. Everyone couldn't read. Everyone, like, you know, I can't sit here and say in the ancient context, excuse me, and bring that forth. They had social strata, they had, you know, social inequalities and so on and so forth. However, it is now 2022. So we can take the best of that and bring it over here. So whatever it is, as far, because now, you know, we believe that education is accessible for all people, that all people, you know, especially depending on the state constitutions, that all young people are entitled to an education up to a certain age, a free education up into a certain age. So, but the attitudes towards education for young Black males, period, whether they go to college or not, whether they get professional degrees or not, whether they, you know, whatever it is they do after, but the idea of inspiring them to critically think, inspiring them to take reading seriously, to take mathematics seriously, to take those things seriously and into their own hands is more important than pushing them to get a degree. So, and I'm like, I have to be careful because I got to go to work tomorrow. And they'd be like, I saw you online saying this. So, but I think that is more important for us to encourage our young men and show them through the literature, not just, you know, like how we do, unfortunately, with Black History Month and say, oh, look, it's this one great Black guy. You should be like this Black guy. And like, that's it. I don't want to do that with Kemet. I really think, like, look at what it's like. What is your quality of life? Do you like your quality of life? How can you make that better? Don't fall into, you know, that unethical stuff. Let's get you over here and taking the text to inspire and push them to break out of what America has done. So I'm hoping that answers the question.
That's what's up. If it didn't, don't worry about it, because you know, nah, I'm just messing with you. But yeah, no, I think you pretty much covered it. Okay. Once again, dua for coming on. We always say we're gonna go like an hour and we end up going 3, but
We're at 52. It's not 3 yet. It's good.
Well, you're right. So I'm gonna let you close out. Before I do, donate to the Queen Cash App. And I think everybody is probably in agreement because it's 10 people still lingering with Rocky and myself that this was the best presentation that has been on my channel thus far. Salute to the Queen, and donate to a Cash App. Show us some appreciation. Y'all know I don't even usually do that. So I just have my Cash App in the description. But I'm asking, donate to the Queen Cash App. Show your love, show your appreciation, etc. Cube already have, and he showed a little more than appreciation. So shout out to my brother Cube for he got clean when he came on too. But yeah, Queen, I'm gonna go ahead and let you close out. I know we both got stuff to do in the morning.
Yes, sir. So usually in general, I close out with Amatu and Panatir, Sawek tu Menta and Panatir, Audwa Maketi Pahiru. Give yourself a netch daily, keep yourself a netch daily, and may tomorrow be as today. So I'm hoping that everyone got something out of the presentation, that I'll be back one day and we can have more conversations on just how to nation build, how to how Kemet can help us get further to that goal, how it could help us as a society, and to start creating our own, so that we can stop going through the traumas and the pains due to outside groups of people, but be more in control of our own destiny. So I invite you all to come see me over on my platform, or just watch some of the older ones, some of the older conversations that we've had. So Ankim, I'm not Ankh, Menyet Ankh .com, Menyet Ankh on YouTube, Menyet Ankh on Instagram, and Kemetic Living in the 21st Century is the Facebook group. And I just hope to keep the conversation going. So, and also, dua for having me, because I totally didn't say that. Rude as hell. I apologize.
No, it's all good. It's all good. No doubt. My casa su casa until I learn how to say that in the middle. Now,
I'm gonna work on that.
So, yeah, we gotta learn that so I can, but anytime if you think of a reason to come on, let me know. Otherwise, I'll figure out a reason to have you come on. So but that being said, as always, appreciate it. And you always welcome back. And Cube says, great interview. Hold up, let me pull this up.
Lord have mercy. No, oh my God. The
that's why I pulled it up. But he get an A for effort though. He get an A for somebody who don't know nothing about Kim. He get an A for effort.
I mean, I want to stay alive, but A for effort. Yeah.
A for effort, man. Shout out to my brother Q. Oh man. I told you the most requested guest, Queen. So
I didn't believe you when you told me. I was like, me? Really? Okay. But all right. You're making me a believer.
All right. With that being said, that's been Paradigm Shift TV 314, the return of the Queen. Hope you got something out of it. It was a great presentation. Hope y'all hit that Cash App, and we will have her back down the road. Until then, we'll be back at you again. Look out for Sabio versus Minister Trey this Sunday. Did Paul teach a different doctrine than Christ? So y'all look out for that Sunday at 6 p.m. Central Time. So we got that coming up. Otherwise, again, Queen Dua, and we out of here.
All right.
Hotel.